Chapter 341. You're really useless. Alright, I'm leaving the recruitment to you. Remember to recruit some pretty female soldiers. Wang Hao patted Qin Feng on the shoulder, then left with his two underlings, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao. Qin Feng gave a wry smile. Just as Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao had said, Wang Hao really wouldn't bother with the Legion's affairs. If he's not going to manage, then I'll reluctantly step up to the plate. Qin Feng took a deep breath, his energy peaking, ready to make a big splash. Qian Wanyang looked back at the brimming Qin Feng, tugged at Chen Yao and asked in a low voice, "You think this guy's a masochist or what?" Chen Yao nodded repeatedly, agreeing. They had kindly invited him to become a general, but he had to play hard to get. Yet, after being beaten up, he actually turned up obediently. This was truly the sign of a born masochist. At the border of the Interstellar Federation, Su Mu received the news about Wang Hao launching the Star Sky missile at Tianbei University. That damned brat, I told him to keep a low profile, but he still caused such a fuss, Su Mu fumed, puffing his whiskers and glaring with wide eyes. The three other university presidents couldn't help but shake their heads, counting on Wang Hao to stay quiet was less realistic than believing tomorrow was doomsday. Boss Su, if you think Wang Hao is too much trouble, let him come to Zhuo University, Hua Zixu said earnestly, out of brotherly love, I'm willing to take this heat for you. Wang Kunlun repeatedly said, you all don't need to bother. Just as the saying goes, if I don't go to hell, who will? Let this kid Wang Hao come to East Brilliance University. Wu Tianlun was displeased. Wang Hao blew up 1/10 of Tianbei University with a single shot. Your places wouldn't endure even a few of his shots. In my opinion, let him go to Yunnan University. We have enough space there for him to have a blast. Humph! Su Mu snorted coldly. You three old geezers, stop with your cunning tricks. I will not let Wang Hao transfer to any of your universities. The three university presidents sighed helplessly, withdrawing their ulterior motives. Although Wang Hao's moral character wasn't anything to brag about, his talent was absolutely terrifying to the point of scaring people to death. In the competition between the two major federations, the first place was pretty much secured, so they all wanted Wang Hao to represent their universities. Yet, even after 1/10 of Tianbei University was blown up, Su Mu, the old geezer, showed no signs of softening. At that moment, a roar came through, Su Mu, get out here for me. The four of them turned to look, seeing Guan Xingxiang approaching furiously. Su Mu said coldly, Guan Xingxiang, you're not welcome here, scram. Guan Xingxiang barked back, Su Mu, let me warn you, if you can't control Wang Hao, I'll take care of him for you. And if he ends up missing arms or legs, don't blame me for not warning you. Hua Zixu scornfully curled his lip, if my grand student ends up missing arms or legs, I assure you that all the Guan family's younger generation will lack all four limbs. Guan Xingxiang, are you threatening me, the commander? Guan Xingxiang's eyes flashed a trace of cold light. Wu Tianlun laughed loudly, it's not a threat, it's a warning. Wang Kunlun gave a chilly warning, Commander Guan, we won't interfere in the younger generation's matters, but if someone dares to overplay their seniority, keep in mind that we four old geezers aren't vegetarians. Guan Xingxiang's face turned red with rage, but he didn't dare utter another harsh word. Although the Guan family commanded the military department, and nobility controlled the military, the soldiers were all common people, and half of those people came from the four major universities. If we really fell out with these four old guys, recruiting soldiers in the future would probably be fraught with difficulties. Guan Xingxiang took a deep breath, just hand over the 20 astronomy jade pieces that Wang Hao has, and we'll call it even. Su Mu sneered, Guan Xingxiang, did you not wake up from your dream? You used my grandson's name to ask for materials, but in the end, it all became part of your private army's resources. I haven't even settled this account with you, and now you're playing the victim first. Guan Xingxiang said indifferently, this is a military secret of the military department. It's not convenient for me, the commander, to discuss it with the four of you. How coincidental. Hua Zixu laughed, about Wang Hao getting 20 astronomy jade pieces, we four old guys had no idea either. You, a surge of anger welled up in Guan Xingxiang again. What you, Wu Tianlun waved his hand dismissively, you're not smearing our disciple here. Our Wang Hao is the #1 talent of the Interstellar Federation. This is about saving face, you can't let that be tarnished by you. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone cast contemptuous looks, including the strange glances from the 3 university presidents. Wang Hao's reputation indeed was prominent, but there was no need to smear it, because this guy had no good reputation to begin with, only a bad one, mind you. Guan Xingxiang gulped down another breath, calming the fire inside. He knew it was impossible to get these 4 elders to step down today, he had to apply pressure from elsewhere. At this moment, Jian Taifeng sauntered over, haha. What a lively scene! Seeing Jian Taifeng, everyone was shocked and hurried forward to bow reverently, greetings, Senior Jian. Jian Taifeng waved his hand and asked curiously, I heard that kid Wang Hao caused some trouble again. Su Mu braced himself and stepped forward to reply, according to Senior Jian, Wang Hao used a Star Sky missile at Tianbei University and destroyed 1/10 of the campus. Add latest chapters at freeobnovlo only. Guan Xingxiang also quickly stepped forward, Wang Hao also stole 20 pieces of our Guan family's astronomy jade. Haha, that little fellow Wang Hao really is lawless, Jian Taifeng laughed while stroking his beard, but Guan Xingxiang, you really are useless, unable to even safeguard the astronomy jade, allowing Wang Hao to steal 20 pieces. Guan Xingxiang's face instantly darkened. He had hoped to use Jian Taifeng to retrieve the astronomy jade, but who would have thought that the old man would belittle him and heap praise on that shameless bastard, Wang Hao. Su Mu nodded in agreement, Senior Jian is absolutely right, Guan Xingxiang really is quite useless. Hua Zixu patted Guan Xingxiang's shoulder, Guan Xingxiang, it doesn't matter if you are useless in other aspects, but when it comes to leading a massive army in a major battle against the Dark Elf race, you can't afford to be useless. You, Guan Xingxiang was so angry his face turned a steely blue. All right, Guan Xingxiang, don't be angry, Jian Taifeng gestured with his hand, you're the commander. As long as you win battles, other uselessness doesn't matter. Guan Xingxiang's face went completely black. Was this praise, or was he being ridiculed along with these 4 old bastards, Su Mu and the others? Wang Kunlun nodded, Senior Jian puts it well, the commander should focus on waging wars, not go around crowing like an irritable rooster, picking fights everywhere. Guan Xingxiang inhaled deeply, calming his heart. He had come to see that this whole gang of elders was sided with Wang Hao, and he was just their plaything. Thinking this, Guan Xingxiang took a deep breath and bowed with his fists together, Senior Jian, I have military matters to attend to and must take my leave. Having said that, Guan Xingxiang turned and left, no longer bothering to argue with these pesky old guys. After Guan Xingxiang left, Jian Taifeng's expression changed, and he snorted coldly, send a message to Wang Hao from me, no matter how much trouble he stirs up, I can smooth it over, but in this competition between the 2 federations, he must utterly trounce those Yaotian Federation youngsters, but no killing is allowed. The 4 university presidents looked at each other, all seeming to understand something. As the 2 federations were cooperating, exchanges among top officials to enhance coordination in combat were quite routine. Seeing Jian Taifeng's expression now, it must be due to some unpleasantness stirred up with those old immortals from the Yaotian Federation. So now he wanted to use Wang Hao's hand to bully the younger generation. Chapter 342 Tianbei University. Wang Hao sat cross-legged in his room, his body shimmering with a soft glow. Suddenly, Wang Hao's body shook violently, and his aura instantly became fierce. Immediately, the true qi within rapidly converged towards his danshan, making the amount of true qi there even more substantial. After Wang Hao circulated his true qi through several grand circulations, he couldn't help but let out a breath, feeling an indescribable sense of relief throughout his body. By now, he had broken through to level 4 of the martial arts sect, causing the quality of the true qi inside him to become even more substantial, allowing it to leave his body and travel even further. Huff huff. Wang Hao exhaled and got up to stretch his stiff body. If it wasn't for the fact that the reward for this outdoor points competition was a divine dragon blood baptism, and he had to be prepared just in case, he wouldn't have wasted time cultivating, but instead would be snuggling up with Zhao Yiling. When Wang Hao stepped out of his room and into the living room, he saw Lingling sitting on the couch with Xiang Xiang, whispering about something. And there was Zhao Yiling, wearing a little apron, cooking in the kitchen. Seeing this scene, Wang Hao immediately felt a toothache. A few days ago, the queen had said she wanted to show off her cooking skills, and he was quite looking forward to what the queen would make, so he sat down on a small stool and waited. The result was a steak cooked to only 15% doneness, which he would never forget in his lifetime. But even so, the queen still delighted in it every day, claiming that in order to capture a man's heart, you must capture his stomach first. Of course, the queen's enthusiasm was wholly because Xiang didn't mind her cooking, as long as she made it, the voracious tyrant could swallow it and even provide feedback on what wasn't right. That's also why the queen hit it off with Xiang, after all, she was the only one who gave encouragement. How could they not hit it off right away? What impressed Wang Hao most was how Xiang could swallow the steak, which was harder than a brick at 15% doneness, in just a few bites. You really have to say the girl has good teeth and a good appetite. I hope this meal isn't for me. Wang Hao rubbed his teeth and turned his head to ask Lingling curiously, where have you been running off to lately? You haven't been sneaking out to find some man behind my back, have you? After the ancient relics were destroyed, this artificial human had disappeared without a trace, making him unable to even find his personal driver when he wanted to go out. Lingling puffed up and glared at Wang Hao. Lingling didn't go looking for men, Lingling just went home for a bit. Went home? Wang Hao scratched his chin and muttered, does going home without taking leave count as unexcused absenteeism? Cough cough. Lingling was instantly choked up by his comment. When did this jerk become such a black-hearted boss? Seeing Wang Hao examining her, Lingling quickly changed the subject. I heard that because of the alliance between the two federations, you can now play tug of war in the Interstellar Federation. Wang Hao's eyes lit up. He activated his smart bracelet and began to log into the tug of war official network, ready to tell the world that Ghost of Grief was back. Lingling breathed a sigh of relief, thankful she remembered that Wang Hao the big bad egg was an online gaming addict, otherwise her salary would definitely have been docked. At this time, Jian Wanyang and Chen Yao walked in. Boss, Principal Su Mu just sent a message saying that tomorrow he wants you to go to Bright Morning Star, the competition's location is set there, Jian Wanyang said. You should tell Lingling about this kind of thing, let her get the spaceship ready. Wang Hao waved his hand, seriously picking out a hero. Lingling nodded, the broken light dragon spaceship has been fixed and is ready to depart anytime. Wang Hao, why are you playing games again? Zhao Yuling came out of the kitchen carrying a plate of food. Wang Hao curled his lips, how many days have I not been online? These little buddies have surely missed me. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the two underlings, were stunned in place. Who gave their boss the confidence to think those buddies would actually miss him? They probably burned incense 3 times daily praying that he wouldn't come back, not at all missing the chance for him to come back and scam them. Zhao Yuling shook her head, carrying the dishes to Xiang for a taste test, and as for Wang Hao, she decided out of sight, out of mind. Just then, several loud laughs came from outside the door. Ha ha, Wang Hao, you rascal, where are you? Hurry up and come out to your uncle. This time, no matter what, you're handing over the dimension potion to us. I heard you've become a marshal, even more awesome than the old boss back in the day. Hearing this, everyone turned to look and saw 3 burly men walk in. These were the 3 bears who hadn't been seen for many days. You guys go ahead and sit down, I'll come join you after I finish the game. Wang Hao waved his hand. Everyone's faces turned dark, this guy was seriously addicted to the internet. There were guests over, and yet he was still busy playing games, making the guests wait. Xiang De huffed and puffed, the younger generation really lacks manners these days. Xiang Er nodded, that's right, we've come from so far away, yet he's engrossed in his game. Xiang San, with hands on hips, demanded, Wang Hao, I ask you, what's more important, the game or welcoming us? Wang Hao gave the 3 bears a scornful look, you actually have the audacity to ask such a foolish question. What's that supposed to mean? Is our question really that foolish? Xiang De was puzzled. I can't understand why we should feel embarrassed to ask. Xiang Er curiously inquired. It's not foolish at all, we're seriously asking you, Xiang San said earnestly. Wang Hao smirked, tell me, are there more people who like gaming? Or more people who like you? You actually dare to compare yourselves to games, who gave you that confidence? If you really want to compare, why don't you compare yourselves to interstellar coins? I think you guys have become too full of yourselves lately. The 3 bears were taken aback by the retort, but after some thought, it seemed to make sense. Xiang De nodded in agreement, I think Wang Hao is right. We 3 brothers are still single and unloved, we really can't compare to games. Xiang Er scratched his head, have we really been too full of ourselves lately? Xiang San thought for a moment, between you guys and interstellar coins, I'd definitely choose interstellar coins, no question about it. Since you know where the problem lies, then just sit patiently and wait, Wang Hao said after tricking them, and then began his journey of scamming teammates. The three bears nodded and obediently sat down, quiet as mice. The others present rolled their eyes. These three dumb bears were just too easy to fool. Wang Hao managed to bamboozle them in just a few words. Lingling tugged at Zhao Yuling's sleeve and whispered, "Sister Yuling, how would you respond if Wang Hao used that kind of retort on you?" Zhao Yuling pondered for a moment, a charming smile playing at the corners of her lips. His response is not wrong, but that is a deadly question. Lingling couldn't help but shiver. Indeed, worthy of Her Majesty the Queen, it seemed she was ready to chop Wang Hao down. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the two underlings, gave Wang Hao a sympathetic look. Indeed, their boss was unbeatable when it came to flirting, but he had flirted with a queen whose cultivation was stronger than his. It didn't seem like he was going to have an easy life. Could this be the real-life version of the saying, "Those who play with fire are bound to get burned"? Chapter 343. Tianbei University. Wang Hao was reluctantly dragged by the three bears, preparing to head to the female soldier recruitment center established by Qin Feng. Originally, he had successfully tricked these three silly bears and planned to stay home to fool his teammates. However, Qian Wanyang chatted with the three bears about recruiting female soldiers, and so these three lecherous bears immediately became interested and insisted on coming to have a look. "Boss, you don't need to look so glum," Qian Wanyang advised. "I heard that many beautiful female college students are applying because of your reputation, boss." "There's such a thing." The three bears' faces were full of envy. They had lived their whole lives without women ever being so proactive toward them. Chen Yao nodded vigorously. "Of course, there is. Our boss is a top-level young talent of the Interstellar Federation." Wang Hao pursed his lips. "I don't like women who throw themselves at my doorstep. You can tell at a glance they are not good news." Qian Wanyang kept nodding. "What the boss said is true. With these kinds of women, it only takes a smile from the boss and they will swarm over." "A smile?" The three bears were puzzled, clearly not understanding how a mere smile could make women flock to him. When the group arrived at the female soldier recruitment center established by Qin Feng, they were surrounded by vibrant, energetic girls. Xiangde, excited, tugged at Wang Hao's arm. "Nephew, look how big that ball is." Wang Hao shook his head in disdain. All the nutrition went to her chest, clearly an uneven development. Xiang Er pointed at a long-legged girl not far away. "Then nephew, how about those long legs?" Wang Hao continued to shake his head. "Everything below the chest is the butt, there's no waist to speak of, how can the legs not be long?" Xiang San eyed a very stylishly dressed girl. "Nephew, what do you think about her?" Wang Hao looked on with contempt. The makeup skills deserve a sigh, but behind that, she looks bizarre without it. The three bears looked at Wang Hao with deep resentment. This jerk was a man who did not know the hunger of the starving surrounded by beauties every day. His tastes had become too picky. But what about them? They had lived so many years and had never even touched a woman's hand. They were truly lonely. Wang Hao gave the three bears a look of disdain. As the saying goes, if you're ugly, you should read more. If you can't find a wife, just cry in hiding. You three are really shameful. The three bears hung their heads in shame. They were about the age of Wang Hao's father. Now, his kid was smooth with the ladies, whereas they hadn't even said goodbye to being single and were being looked down on by Wang Hao. This was too embarrassing. Wait a minute, there's a beauty over there." Wang Hao's eyes suddenly lit up, seeing a fair-skinned beauty with long legs in a corner not far away, definitely a top-tier beauty. And this beauty was shyly looking toward the recruitment center with a bit of wanting to come over yet being afraid to approach. There, the three bears suddenly perked up, looking up. "Boss, you can't hit on that one." Qian Wanyang was shocked and hurriedly stopped Wang Hao. Chen Yao quickly blocked Wang Hao's line of sight, shaking his head vigorously. "Boss, snap out of it. You absolutely can't indulge in wild thoughts, or you'll end up with a psychological fear." Wang Hao, puzzled, asked, "Why can't I have wild thoughts?" Qian Wanyang whispered in Wang Hao's ear. "Boss, that person is named Kula, a ladyboy from Tiantai Star, he's a man." "Shit!" Wang Hao cursed, quickly soothing his chest with his hand, nearly scared into developing a psychological fear. "What, a man?" the three bears exclaimed, squatting by the roadside and retching violently. "Boss, let's hurry up and go," Qian Wanyang urged hastily. "After seeing her, I've lost all interest in other women, I even feel like I'm being bent out of shape." Wang Hao scratched his chin and muttered, "A man-woman? Bent out of shape?" Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao exchanged a look, their eyes filled with shock. Could it be that the boss had such a hobby? Thinking this, the two underlings immediately propped Wang Hao up and ran off, determined not to let him indulge in such terrifying thoughts. Otherwise, if Zhao Yiling found out, they would surely be beaten to death alive. Put me down! Wang Hao shouted. Qian Wanyang shook his head repeatedly. Boss, this kind of thought is just too dangerous, we can't watch you fall. Chen Yao nodded continuously. Boss, with so many beauties around you, why do you need to seek out this kind? Wang Hao looked speechless. Who said I was looking for a man-woman? Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao stopped, looking at Wang Hao in a daze. Could it be that they got it wrong? So, boss, you mean, Qian Wanyang ventured to ask. With a sinister smile, Wang Hao said, I was just thinking, what would Li Yuniang do if he fell in love with this man-woman named Kula? Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao burst out laughing, really wanting to loudly question Wang Hao, what kind of grudge or grievance did he have against Li Yuniang, that he wouldn't stop entangling with the guy. Wang Hao scratched his chin, pondering, if Li Yuniang, who is currently at a low point in his life, received the attention of a beautiful girl, he would definitely fall for her. But when he found out this girl was a man-woman, he would be absolutely thunderstruck, even harboring thoughts of dying. With such a blow, Wang Hao couldn't believe the system wouldn't make some sort of gesture. Alas, brother Yuniang, I see you're all alone, and I can't bear to see you lonely for the rest of your life, so just take this chick. Wang Hao grinned widely and cackled, eager to see what reward the system would give him. Lonely my ass. If he really took her in, it would mean being destined to a lifetime of solitude. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao mentally observed a 3-minute silence for Li Yuniang. They couldn't fathom what sins Li Yuniang had committed in his past life to run into Wang Hao in this one. Not only was he constantly suppressed, but he was also continuously led into pits dug by Wang Hao. Forget it, let's not look anymore, let's hurry back. Xiang De waved his hand and started walking home. Going out today was really unlucky, actually encountering such a person, Xiang Er said with a face full of disgust. Actually, this man-woman is really beautiful, it's a pity she has the wrong equipment, Xiang San said with a tone of regret. Wang Hao instructed, Qian Wanyang, I don't care by what means, but you must take control of this Kula and then send her to Li Yuniang. Qian Wanyang beat his chest in assurance, boss, rest assured, I will thoroughly investigate this Kula and use her family as a threat to make her approach Li Yuniang. You're so wicked. Wang Hao gave Qian Wanyang a meaningful look, then burst out laughing and turned to follow the three bears home. Qian Wanyang's face darkened. What did that look mean? Did the boss have any limit to his wickedness? Chen Yao patted Qian Wanyang on the shoulder. Brother, tough job. After speaking, Chen Yao couldn't help but laugh out loud, then quickly followed Wang Hao. Ah, Qian Wanyang sighed and turned around with a tragic face, heading towards the man-woman named Kula, thinking of gathering some information first. Chapter 344. Bright Morning Star, a level 4 planet. 80% of it was covered by forests, within which lived many large demon beasts, the highest ranking of which reached the Martial King level. At this time, Bright Morning Star was swarming with people, young men and young women could be seen everywhere. They were all promising youngsters from the two major federations, the future high-ranking officials of the two federations, with the total number exceeding 5 million. When a light dragon spaceship landed, all the young men and women turned to look. Before long, Wang Hao came out with his two younger brothers, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao. Next to them were Xia Weiwei and Li Xian, who were catching a ride. As for Zhao Yiling, she was participating in a competition on another planet, so she was not with them. Xiang and Lingling stood at the entrance of the spaceship, waving to everyone, you all need to give it your best. Yep, we will give it our best. Xia Weiwei clenched her little fist, cheering herself on. Wang Hao handed Little White over to Xiang, as, according to the rules of this competition, Little White was not allowed to be brought into the arena. Wang Hao, this treasure doesn't want to be separated from you. Little White struggled in Xiang's arms and started screaming as if his heart was tearing apart. Living with Xiang, a glutton, would definitely result in being starved to death. Little White, be good, sis won't eat your carrots. Xiang stroked Little White's head and suddenly produced a carrot, sis will just eat one. Little White wanted to cry but had no tears, even though Wang Hao had prepared a lot of carrots for him, it definitely wouldn't be enough to withstand Xiang's gluttony. Thinking about the miserable life ahead in the next few days, it felt like his bunny life was engulfed in darkness. How was a 2.5-year-old bunny supposed to bear it? Don't worry, little guy, I'll only be gone for 3 days, Wang Hao said, flicking Xiang's forehead as a warning. Don't just think about eating, remember to leave some for little white. Okay, okay, Xiang rubbed her little head and then nodded repeatedly. Li Xian looked around and asked softly, Wang Hao, are you planning to form a team or go solo for this competition? Wang Hao teased with a smile, are you saying you can't bear to be away from your hubby? Xia Weiwei gave Wang Hao a disdainful look. Wang Hao, don't be so narcissistic. We're just considering the fact that we all know each other and are afraid that with all the bad things you've done, you would be beaten to death. Wang Hao raised an eyebrow. I've done quite a few bad things, but I've never tried to forcibly take a girl home. Xia Weiwei stepped back 2 steps, protecting her chest with her hands. What are you trying to do? Wang Hao made a face. Xia, you're too full of yourself. If I were to take someone home, it'd be Li Xian. You're too young, I'm not interested. You, Xia Weiwei stamped her foot in anger. Wang Hao, you be careful yourself, we're going ahead. Li Xian rolled her eyes and pulled the fuming Xia Weiwei away. Hey, Xia, I have a question I want to ask you, Wang Hao called out to Xia Weiwei with a smile. Tell me, if a person doesn't have legs, do they still need to wear shoes? Xia Weiwei was stunned. What was this lecher asking her such a question for? Still, Xia Weiwei subconsciously shook her head, indicating that without legs, there was no need for shoes. Wang Hao laughed, then if you have no chest, why wear a bra? Li Xian, let go of me, Xia Weiwei raged, today I'm going to perish together with this lecher. Li Xian held onto Xia Weiwei tightly, using all her strength to finally drag her away, not forgetting to glare at Wang Hao before leaving. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the 2 younger brothers, sighed with sour faces. Their boss just had to irritate Xia Weiwei to the point of explosion to feel comfortable. At this time, the surrounding crowd of young men and young women pointed at Wang Hao, whispering amongst themselves. Is this Wang Hao, the #1 genius of the Interstellar Federation? It must be him, looks exactly like the photo. I've heard the older generation praise him as the first genius of the human race, with talent unparalleled in ancient and modern times. Doesn't that mean for this competition, Wang Hao is the predetermined champion? Not necessarily, I've heard that the Yaotian Federation has a way to deal with Wang Hao. Really? I heard Wang Hao's combat power is invincible among his peers, and he even disregards numerical superiority. It must be true, the members of the Yaotian Federation are brimming with confidence for this competition. Could it be that Wang Hao is really going to fall here? I give it an 80% chance. Hearing this, Qian Wanyang expressed his concern. Boss, why don't you just stick with Miss Li Xian and the others? It would be nicer to have some backup. Who wants to move with these dead weights? Wang Hao curled his lip. I still don't believe the Yaotian Federation can cook up anything special. At this time, the 3 bears also walked out of the Light Dragon spaceship. Xiangda whispered, we must end our bachelorhood this time. Xiang Er clenched his fist, his eyes resolute. We'll lower the difficulty this time and take action against these naive little girls, it should be no problem. Xiang San chuckled sinisterly, these 17 or 18-year-old girls will surely be captivated by our mature appearances. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao looked at the 3 bears in shock. What do these guys mean? Could it be they intend to prey on minors? But could this really be something a martial emperor would do? Wang Hao was furious, he never imagined these 3 bears could stoop so low and make moves on these young girls. Wasn't that stealing his resources? Just as Wang Hao was about to give the 3 bears a piece of his mind, he saw them leap up and surround a young girl, enclosing her in the center. Xiangda smiled, young lady, could you do us a favor and join us for a meal? The girl was on guard, what do you want? Xiang Er raised an eyebrow, of course, to have a hearty meal and then go back to do some shameful things. Big brother, you're scaring her, Xiang San glared at Xiang Er and kept smiling, flexing his muscles. Young lady, the 3 of us brothers are in great shape, guaranteed to give you an unforgettable experience. Wang Hao burst out laughing. No wonder these 3 brothers are still single. It turns out they want to team up for this. Even the most unprincipled woman would think twice in the face of 3 martial emperors as ferocious as wolves. It's a suicide mission. Of course, if it were a female martial emperor, she might handle such a level of assault and defense with no problem. But wouldn't a female martial emperor have any shame? How could she possibly do such a thing? Seeing the girl silent, the three bears raised their eyebrows in unison. Young lady, all three of us brothers are pure, you know. The girl's face flushed with anger. Get lost. Get lost. The three bears were startled at first, then said joyfully, do you mean rolling in the sheets? The girl felt like she was about to faint from anger. Did she not check her horoscope before leaving the house today? How did she encounter such shameless hooligans, and three at once? Chapter 345. Cough cough. Wang Hao choked on the spot, then quickly lowered his head and rushed away from the scene. He really didn't want anyone to know he was acquainted with those three shameless bears. At the same time, he was curious how those three bears managed to cultivate to the level of martial emperor with such intelligence. It was truly moving. He could easily nominate them for the top 3 in the annual Most Touching Idiots category. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao's lackeys also hung their heads low and hurried away. How utterly embarrassing. The young men and women around also noticed the bears flirting with the young girl and immediately came forward to angrily scold them. Where did these people come from? They're nothing but social scum. Don't they even look at their own age? Shamelessly hitting on young girls. It's not about being old, but one should at least have some class. But these three guys are just too sloppy. They don't have an ounce of a middle-aged man's class, yet they dare to come out and flirt with young girls. Xiangde retorted angrily, what do you mean too sloppy? If we weren't sloppy, why would we need women? Xiang Er, with a dark face, said, what's the use of class, nowadays men are judged by the money in their pockets. Xiang San snorted coldly, we three brothers are protectors of world peace, and you dare call us social scum. Wang Hao stood there, dumbfounded. These three bears were unbeatable, they could spin yarns even more wildly than women. Boss, look, isn't that Song Ji? Qian Wanyang tugged at Wang Hao's sleeve, pointing to a youth not too far away. Song Ji. Wang Hao turned to look and indeed it was the son of Marshal Tianhong from the Yao Tian Federation, Song Ji. This brat knows I'm here for the competition and he still dares come, he's really got nerve. A smile flickered at the corner of Wang Hao's mouth. Chen Yao whispered a reminder, boss, Principal Su Mu has already said that relations between the two federations are sensitive right now. It's okay for you to cause trouble, but you absolutely must not kill anyone. No messing around. Don't worry, I won't mess around. Wang Hao said impatiently, waving his hand to indicate he understood. In fact, Wang Hao was very clear himself, the reason he was able to cause trouble everywhere and have sin points credited to him was entirely because of a stable environment and a powerful backer supporting him. But once that backer had troubles of their own and chaos was everywhere, then his leisurely life would definitely be disrupted. He would then be forced to fight everywhere, with no time to relax at all. So, he would never do anything to disrupt his stable life, at least not until his resources were sufficiently amassed. At that moment, Song Ji also spotted Wang Hao and approached him with a cold, dark expression. Wow, what a coincidence! Wang Hao waved his hand with a smile at Song Ji. Song Ji's face darkened. What coincidence? This was clearly a cursed fate. Wang Hao, don't get too complacent. This time I'll be watching you fail, Song Ji snorted coldly. Watch me fail. Wang Hao was intrigued. He really wanted to see what kind of trump card the Yao Tian Federation had prepared to deal with him. Martial brother. Ling Xiao waved at Wang Hao from not too far away, then sprinted towards him. Arriving in front of Wang Hao, Ling Xiao was bursting with excitement, Martial brother, I saw Duo. Wang Hao blinked innocently. This guy can't still be thinking about his first love Duo, can he? It seemed that after the last experience, Duo had seen Ling Xiao's true colors, and the chances of her taking him back were practically nil. Besides, he wouldn't watch Ling Xiao succeed in love so easily. He'd definitely give him a push at the crucial moment, to make him embarrass himself and then be scorned by the woman he loved. Perhaps that way, he could help his martial brother see through the mortal world, then guide him to comprehend a heart of justice, becoming the favored child of heavenly Dao. Thinking this way, Wang Hao instantly felt that he had a tough lot, but for his martial brother's sake, he'd sacrifice a bit and be the bad guy. This is Song Ji. Ling Xiao noticed Song Ji standing nearby. Humph. Song Ji snorted coldly, Ling Xiao, I still remember you throwing a star sky missile at me last time, causing the loss of all 4 of my limbs. We are not done with that matter. Wang Hao's eyes lit up, then he loudly called out, "Referee, someone is breaking the rules here." He brought 4 mechanical prosthetic limbs, that counts as a weapon. Song Ji's face turned dark. This bastard was truly shameless, wasn't he? As soon as he finished speaking, a shadow fell from the sky and landed in front of Wang Hao. It was a woman in black, with a delicate nose, exquisite lips, appropriate and solemn, her cold gaze free of any impurities. "Hello, I am the main referee for this match, Man Yun, may I help you?" Man Yun asked softly. Wang Hao pointed at Song Ji, righteously saying, "Referee, this guy's limbs were severed, and now he has prosthetics. You should confiscate his limbs, otherwise, that's a violation of the rules." The people around instantly felt embarrassed for him. Wang Hao was as shameless as the rumors said. If Song Ji really had to remove all 4 prosthetics, then there would be no point in him participating in the competition anymore. "Wang Hao, you are despicable," Song Ji said, gasping angrily, wishing fervently to push Wang Hao to the ground and beat him for half an hour. However, remembering that Wang Hao, even when he was a martial master, had defeated him, and now that Wang Hao had reached the status of martial arts sect, any confrontation would only bring him shame. Man Yun's eyebrows furrowed and she stepped forward to squeeze Song Ji's arm, finding it quite soft, not at all like a prosthesis. "Humph!" Song Ji snorted, "Wang Hao, you've miscalculated. My limbs have been regenerated through gene cultivation technology." Gene cultivation technology? Wang Hao looked puzzled, obviously not very familiar with this concept. Qian Wanyang explained quietly, "Boss, gene cultivation technology refers to creating many humanoid embryos using a child's genes at birth. If the original body is injured when it grows up, these embryos are activated, and parts are harvested from them to repair the original body." "Ah, that's just too cruel." Wang Hao looked at Song Ji with disdain. Essentially, it was like cutting flesh from one's own child to patch oneself up. Chen Yao whispered, "That's why it's cruel and generally not used. Besides, normal people can't afford to raise those humanoid embryos, so only those from big noble families would do such a thing." Wang Hao nodded, went over to Song Ji, and pinched curiously, "Is this real? It's not made of silicone, right?" "Humph." Song Ji withdrew his arm and said coldly, "Wang Hao, this is a genuine arm, not the silicone you mentioned." "Is that so? Let me try." Wang Hao flipped his palm, a dagger appeared, and without hesitation, he stabbed into Song Ji's arm. Chapter 346. "Ah!" Song Ji clutched his bleeding arm, emitting a pitiful cry. Seeing this, everyone around twitched their eyelids. What kind of trial is this? He actually stabbed straight in with a dagger. "Wow, it's really bleeding, your silicone arm is so realistically made." Wang Hao exclaimed in surprise. "Realistic my ass. It's obviously real, okay." The people around were all powerless to complain, although they knew Wang Hao was shameless, only upon witnessing did they realize he was even more shameless than the legends. Whoosh whoosh. At that moment, a large group of youths wearing the Yao Tian Federation insignia rushed over in an instant. Whoosh whoosh. Seeing the Yao Tian Federation gathered in a group, the Interstellar Federation also refused to show weakness and immediately walked over as well. Instantly, the two federations formed into 2 opposite camps, confronting each other. Man Yun's eyebrows knitted together as she coldly huffed, "Everyone go back, if anyone dares to cause trouble, their qualification for the competition will be directly revoked." Upon hearing this, a light shone in the eyes of the people from Yao Tian Federation, and they began to accuse. Now that Wang Hao has hit someone and even caused bleeding, shouldn't he be disqualified? That's right, Wang Hao hurt Song Ji for no reason, he should be disqualified. Disqualify Wang Hao from the competition. Disqualify Wang Hao from the competition. Watching the Yao Tian Federation shouting in unison, the side of the Interstellar Federation was unusually quiet, as if they had no intention of helping Wang Hao. That's because they all knew how strong Wang Hao was. If Wang Hao really participated in the competition, then they would only be competing for second place and have no chance at first. But if Wang Hao didn't participate, then they would have the opportunity to compete for it. Xia Weiwei and Li Xian had just met up with Shui Yunqin when they heard the shouts to disqualify Wang Hao from the competition. Why can't this guy Wang Hao just keep quiet for a bit? Shui Yunqin rubbed her temples with a headache. If he could keep quiet, then he wouldn't be Wang Hao, Xia Weiwei pouted angrily. Li Xian sighed, "This big bada never calms down, Doesn't he realize that if he's disqualified, it's like missing the divine dragon blood initiation? Just then, a silvery laugh sounded. Wai Wei, Sister Li Xian, Sister Qian Qin. The three women turned their heads and saw Mai Meng Meng flitting over like a butterfly, throwing herself into Xia Wai Wei's embrace. Meng Meng. Shuek Yunqin swallowed, her eyes shining as she gazed at Mai Meng Meng. For her, with a dark spirit body, to see Mai Meng Meng, a poison master in training, was like seeing a super delicious cake, just like her master Qiu Linghan upon seeing Bing Jiao, totally unable to extricate herself. Mai Meng Meng gave Shuek Yunqin a bright smile. She was most afraid that Shuek Yunqin would hold her and give her a lick. Meng Meng, what brings you here? Li Xian curiously asked. My master sent me, she said that combat alchemists are allowed to participate. Mai Meng Meng pouted slightly, obviously not wanting to take part in this competition. You're competing too. Shuek Yunqin excitedly hugged Mai Meng Meng and planted a hefty kiss on that collagen-filled little cheek. Mai Meng Meng was overwhelmed with headache. She should have expected this would happen. Wang Hao, what are you thinking of doing? Suddenly, shouts of alarm rang out. The four women turned their heads, also startled, to see Wang Hao, that bastard, actually pulling out a Dongfeng missile launcher. If this bastard really launched it, then the youngsters from both federations would instantly die with no place to bury, creating an unprecedented fault. Wang Hao said with a wronged face, I can't even compete anymore. Isn't it okay to just take out a weapon to look at it? Upon hearing this, everyone present turned utterly dark. Look at your granddaddy. This was a blatant threat, plain and simple. Man Yun's expression changed. Wang Hao, stop it right now, who said anything about disqualifying you? Judge Man Yun is truly an upright and honest person, the words of these villains obviously can't shake you in the slightest. I am thoroughly impressed. Wang Hao looked at Man Yun with a face full of admiration. The moment his words fell, the Yaotian Federation's contestants instantly became furious. Wang Hao, who are you calling a villain? Make yourself clear, or I swear I won't let this go today. What kind of judge are you, letting someone like him compete? If you let Wang Hao compete, I will go and stab these sons of the Interstellar Federation. Yeah, stab these grandsons of the Interstellar Federation to death. Upon hearing this, the Interstellar Federation side immediately became unhappy. They were fine with you insulting Wang Hao and cheered you on, but what did it mean to drag them into this? Fuck, who are you talking about? I'm standing right here, come and stab me. Stab me? Let me tell you, I'm going to stab all of you bastards to death today. Acting all high and mighty, I will blast all of you to death with one shot. Wang Hao, don't hesitate, just open fire. That's right, blow these sons of turtles to smithereens. Seeing the situation getting out of control again, Man Yun forced a smile. She had already been notified by her superiors to keep a close eye on Wang Hao, this troublemaker. At first, she didn't think much of it, doubting how much trouble a teenager could really cause. But as it turned out, the competition hadn't even started, yet he had already incited a verbal war between the two federations, even drawing the Dongfeng missiles into the fray. Just then, Wang Hao raised a middle finger towards the Yaotian Federation's contestants, a provocative middle finger that came with his public enemy skill set. Instinctively, the Yaotian Federation's contestants paused for a second, then a nameless rage rose from within them. Kill. In the next second, the Yaotian Federation's contestants, with killing intentions shaking the heavens, charged towards the Interstellar Federation's contestants. Seeing this, the Interstellar Federation's contestants got extremely angry. Fuck, do you think our Interstellar Federation is made of paper? Brothers, grab your weapons. Charge. Rumble. In an instant, true qi surged across heaven and earth, and the roaring sound continued non-stop. Wang Hao, as the battle began, had already used light speed step to slip away in a flash. Ling Xiao, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao also quickly followed, mentally exhausted by Wang Hao's ability to cause trouble. They just couldn't complain about him anymore. Ding dong, congratulations host for instigating a great war, you've received 50,000 sin points, and there are more rewards if the war escalates. Only 50,000, these guys are really useless. Wang Hao pouted, jumped onto a big tree, and started munching away on a bucket of popcorn with great relish. Ling Xiao said with a bitter smile, Junior brother, if things get out of hand, you really might not be able to compete in the match. Wang Hao waved his hand nonchalantly, don't worry, if they don't let me compete, I guarantee a Dongfeng missile will make them understand what true agony is. Cough cough. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the two juniors, choked on the spot. Their boss's shamelessness was simply invincible. Chapter 347. Wang Hao, can't you stay out of trouble for just a moment? Li Xian lightly leaped and landed on a tree, quickly drawing a revolver to shoot down a few people attempting to climb up after her. Wang Hao said with an angry face, "Little Xian, those people were bullying your husband, how can you turn your elbow out and speak for outsiders?" Li Xian rolled her eyes, "I'm not going to bicker with you. I came to tell you that Meng Meng just shared an important piece of information. This time the Yaotian Federation's trump card is a Devil Control Master." Devil Control Master. Ling Xiao, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao all took in a breath of cold air. This profession that had not appeared for 1,000 years had actually re-emerged. Wang Hao looked confused. What on earth is a Devil Control Master? Everyone was shocked by Wang Hao. This guy knew so much, and yet, he didn't even know what a Devil Control Master was. Could he really not be faking? Qian Wanyang explained, Devil Control Masters are very terrifying. They can control demon beasts, and in large numbers too. Ling Xiao's face turned solemn. According to the records, Devil Control Masters have very peculiar spiritual power. They can rapidly control demon beasts, making the beasts fight for them. Fight for them? Wang Hao was stunned. Do you mean to say, if we don't take down this Devil Control Master immediately, he'll rally a large group of demon beasts to strike? Li Xian nodded, looking up at the endless forest ahead. Bright Morning Star is a demon beast paradise. There are many Martial King level demon beasts there. Give this Devil Control Master 2 days, and you'll find yourself in a very passive situation. You mean I'll be surrounded by Martial King demon beasts? Wang Hao thought for a moment. His current combat strength was more than enough to deal with Martial Kings, but he couldn't deliver a one-hit kill. It would take some time. But if there were a large number of these Martial Kings, then he really wouldn't be able to win. Ling Xiao couldn't help asking, as far as I know, a Devil Control Master must have a corresponding level of strength to control a demon beast. How many Martial King demon beasts can this Devil Control Master control? Li Xian shook her head. Meng Meng doesn't know that, but Meng Meng did say that this Devil Control Master has reached level 9 in the martial arts sect and could break through to Martial King at any moment. Hiss! Ling Xiao and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. If this Devil Control Master truly made a breakthrough during the competition, then the number of Martial King demon beasts he controlled would definitely not be less than 30. Although Wang Hao could fight tirelessly, the gap in cultivation level was too great. Moreover, being outnumbered, it was pretty much akin to seeking death. Everyone stop! Suddenly, a thunderous voice that vibrated eardrums exploded overhead, awakening the combatants engaged in the grand battle. As they looked up, they saw a man slowly descending from the sky. The emblem of flight that tagged along with him left no doubt, this was a martial emperor. Ling Xiao whispered, "Junior brother, that man is Lin Hoxing, someone from the presidential palace, and he's quite close with Liao Yunquan. You've just extorted 4 courage battleships from Liao Yunquan, so it's likely this fellow will give you trouble. Senior brother, do you even know how to speak?" Wang Hao said earnestly, "I'm clearly the victim here. Liao Yunquan compensated me with 4 courage battleships, how could that be considered extortion?" Ling Xiao was speechless with a face full of lines. This junior brother really had no shame. He had witnessed everything. If this wasn't extortion, then what was? Lin Hoxing's arrival caused both parties to cease fighting. Man Yun glanced at Lin Hoxing, her eyebrows furrowing. "Lin Hoxing, what are you doing here?" Lin Hoxing said indifferently, "I've received instructions from the upper echelons, ordering Wang Hao to compensate Song Ji's medical fees. Then, let bygones be bygones. If there's a next time, there will be severe consequences." "What, pay compensation?" The participants from the Yaotian Federation were displeased. What kind of result was this? Participants in a competition of such stature between 2 great federations would lack money? Lin Hoxing snorted coldly, "If anybody else dares to question the decision of the higher-ups, their qualification to compete will be immediately revoked." Upon hearing this, the scene instantly quieted down. It was wartime after all, and the high-ranking officials were very busy. They simply didn't have time to deal with these trivial matters, so going to them was like seeking discomfort for no reason. "So it's just about paying money." Wang Hao stepped in front of Song Ji, took a 1 interstellar coin note out of his wallet, tore it in half, and handed it to Song Ji. The faces of everyone present darkened in an instant. Was this jerk serious? What the hell use was a torn note? Wang Hao. Lin Hoxing said coldly, as a marshal of the Interstellar Federation, do you not find it shameful to compensate like this? Wang Hao curled his lip, you said compensation was fine, but you never specified how much. How can you blame me? Lin Hoxing's face blackened completely. What kind of logic was this? It was clearly Wang Hao who had stabbed someone, yet somehow it had become his fault. Wang Hao, you've injured someone, you should give more. How can this be enough? Man Yun couldn't stand by and said something. Wang Hao pulled out a cash case, and with a playful smile, said, here, I have 10 million interstellar coins. But if I give it to him, would he dare to take it? Why wouldn't I dare to take it? Song Ji huffed coldly, reaching out to grab the case. Suddenly, Wang Hao yelled at the top of his lungs, 3 bears. The next second, 3 terrifying auras exploded in an instant, 3 figures rushed through the crowd and arrived beside Wang Hao. Martial Emperors. The entire audience watched the 3 bears in shock. They hadn't expected the 3 bear harassers to actually all be of martial emperor cultivation. Humph! Song Ji, out of anger, huffed coldly and turned to leave, obviously realizing that with these 3 martial emperors present, there was no point in thinking about the money. What's going on? Xiongda asked. Honored nephew, why the heck did you pull out a case of money? Xiong Er asked in confusion. Could it be funding for us to pick up girls? Xiong San looked at Wang Hao, full of hope. Wang Hao curled his lip again, with your level of picking up girls, even with a budget you wouldn't succeed. The 3 bears were unhappy now. That was quite a blow to their confidence. What do you mean we won't succeed? We're quite experienced in this matter. Xiongda said proudly. That's right, we've specifically bought films to study, guaranteeing the authentic experience. Xiong San pulled out a collector's edition disc. We've studied those films thoroughly. We're just short of a girl willingly offering herself, Xiong San said with pride. Wang Hao stared dumbfounded at the disc in Xiong Er's hand, a huge WTF surging in his mind. The disc's cover featured 4 people, 3 of whom were men and only 1 was a woman. Wang Hao also realized why the 3 bears had thought about doing it together, the influence of these kinds of discs. What baffled him though, was whether these 3 brothers had traveled from ancient times. They didn't even understand such matters, truly an emotional moment amongst the top 3 imbeciles of the year. Lin Hoxing narrowed his eyes slightly, sizing up the 3 bears. He had wanted to make Wang Hao lose some money, to take the side of Liao Yunchuan, but who knew Wang Hao would actually be accompanied by 3 martial emperors, and the most shameless 3 bears at that. Man Yun shook her head helplessly, feeling she had gained a new and comprehensive understanding of Wang Hao's trouble-making abilities. At the same time, Man Yun felt she couldn't drag this on any longer. She had to start the match quickly, or else who knows what other trouble Wang Hao might stir up. That was not something she had the patience to clean up after. Chapter 348. Thinking of this, Man Yun called out loudly, contestants from the 2 federations, I now announce the rules of the competition. Before coming here, you should have all received a teleportation bracelet. If anyone doesn't have one, you can come to me for one. Man Yun waited a moment, seeing that no one spoke up, he continued, you will be randomly teleported to a location on Bright Morning Star, and you are not allowed to use any weapons you brought with you. You can only use weapons that you find in the forest. Man Yun glanced at Wang Hao, seemingly as a warning, don't think that because some of you have dimension space, you can bring your own weapons. I'm telling you, this competition has mobilized 30,000 satellites. Every move you make will be seen. If you use your own weapons, you will be immediately disqualified. Hearing this, those who harbored wishful thinking all sighed helplessly. With 30,000 satellites watching, who would dare mess around? Man Yun went on, this competition will use a points system. Everyone starts with 1 point. You will gain all the points of any opponent you defeat, but you must return within 3 days, otherwise the points will be void. And in case of danger, you can also use the teleportation bracelet to return. Are there any more questions? After a while, seeing that no one had anything to say, Man Yun tapped his smart bracelet, activating the teleportation device. Buzz! A dazzling bright light curtain abruptly appeared, the teleportation bracelet on Wang Hao's wrist lit up, and then his figure vanished into thin air. At the same time, a glow emitted from the bodies of the contestants and they shot up into the sky, being distributed to every corner of Bright Morning Star. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao exchanged a look, then dutifully returned to the light dragon spaceship to await Wang Hao's return. The three bears looked around and immediately scampered after Man Yun. Clearly with the small girls gone, they could only choose this female referee. Little White lay listlessly on Xiangxiang's head, watching Wang Hao leave, praying in its heart for Wang Hao's quick return. Not long after, in a forest somewhere, the figure of Wang Hao appeared. Suddenly, Wang Hao tensed up sharply, a chilling sensation, as if being targeted by a venomous snake, suddenly swept over his entire body. He turned his head to look, and saw a white giant wolf the size of a horse slowly approaching him, baring its teeth and growling. "You've got to be kidding me. I've just arrived and haven't even had the time to look for a weapon, and I've already encountered a Martial King-class demon beast." Wang Hao felt a headache coming on. Now, without a single weapon found, he was expected to fight a Martial King demon beast barehanded. They were really overestimating him. Wang Hao picked up a tree branch from the ground, his feet stomped on the ground, and his body shot towards the white giant wolf like lightning, an incredibly sharp aura bursting forth from him. A grim air of killing intent suddenly permeated throughout the forest. "Oh wow!" The white giant wolf howled, as if sensing the terror of Wang Hao. Its strong limbs slightly bent, its green eyes filled with a fierce light, and its robust body charged towards Wang Hao, a formidable presence utterly terrifying. Wang Hao's eyes flashed with a streak of gold, and the energy flow on the white giant wolf's body became vividly clear in his sight. The branch in his hand stabbed out in the cleanest and most decisive manner. In the instant when their paths crossed, Wang Hao pivoted on his feet, the branch instantly stabbed into the white giant wolf's eye, and the true qi covering the branch surged into the giant wolf's brain with an irresistible force. Boom! Wang Hao's eyes snapped open, he released the branch, kicked off the ground, and flew out several meters away, instantly detonating the heavenly tyrant power he had just channeled into the white giant wolf. Oh wow! The white giant wolf's head suddenly burst open, blood splattered wildly, its roars carrying far and wide, yet it did not die just like that, its ferocity undiminished. Truly befitting of a Martial King-level demon beast, its life force is indeed strong. Wang Hao frowned, hearing sporadic, urgent noises coming from the forest. This is just my luck, the wolves here are also pack animals. Wang Hao didn't dare hesitate, his body vanished from its spot like a wraith. He didn't want to fight a pack of wolves barehanded. It was time to prioritize finding a weapon. Borderline. High-ranking individuals from both federations were also watching this competition. When the crowd saw Wang Hao successfully stab the eyes of a Martial King-level demon beast with a mere tree branch, none could remain calm. This child is extraordinary. If not for the other giant wolves coming to its aid, give him time, and this wolf would surely die. That's right, his mindset and combat skills are both top-notch. I've seen many take on challenges above their level, but someone from the martial arts sect fighting a Martial King is unheard of. Not just unheard of, in my whole life, I've never even heard of such a thing. As long as the child doesn't die, he's destined to surpass us all. The kid just used unity of heaven and man, he must be Wang Hao, no doubt. It might not necessarily be Wang Hao. I've heard that Li Yuniang from the military department also mastered unity of heaven and man. Didn't you see him employing the perfected light speed step? It has to be Wang Hao. Indeed, as rumors suggested, his talent is frighteningly terrifying. Guan Xingxiang's eyes narrowed slightly, betraying no emotion. If he had no personal grievances with Wang Hao, then the emergence of such a genius within the Interstellar Federation would have definitely delighted him. But given the current state of relations between him and Wang Hao, they could only be described as utterly terrible. And judging by Wang Hao's demonstrated character, he was petty to the core, and it was clear that even their initiative to show goodwill would hardly improve the relations between the two parties. Kid, I've decided I won't wait any longer. If you must blame someone, blame it on your own arrogance. Guan Xingxiang's eyes flashed with viciousness. Remember in your next life to open your eyes and recognize that some people you are simply destined not to offend. At the same time, after watching Wang Hao fight the giant wolf, the top brass of Yaotian Federation immediately gathered for a meeting. The president of Yaotian Federation began, "Let's hear your opinions, everyone. If we let Wang Hao grow, it's highly likely that the Interstellar Federation will eventually counterattack our Yaotian Federation." That's right. Wang Hao's talent is horrifying. If he cultivates to a certain level, he could start a war on his own. Therefore, we must take the opportunity to eliminate Wang Hao before he has a chance to grow. Easy to say, but do you really think Wang Hao is someone we can kill just like that? You've got a point. Wang Hao has many powerful backers. If we kill him now, the relations between the two federations will become very complicated. If the Dark Elves seize the chance to break us apart one by one, that's clearly not a scenario we want to see. For the sake of one person, Wang Hao, to forsake the proliferation of the human race would be a terrible deal. Actually, I feel that even if the Interstellar Federation knows we killed Wang Hao, they wouldn't dare turn against us. Turning against us is unlikely, but certainly our cooperation will no longer be close-knit. That's true. We need to focus all our efforts on dealing with the Dark Elves now, or the chances of victory will be very slim. Killing Wang Hao could potentially make us sinners of the human race. It's something we must carefully consider. We must think of a solution that satisfies both sides. Chapter 349. While the high-level leaders of the Yaotian Federation were in endless debate, Marshal Zhao Kun suddenly spoke, "In fact, we can try to recruit Wang Hao." At these words, everyone's eyes lit up, feeling that the idea was very good. To kill such a genius would not only be troublesome but also a great pity. But to recruit such a genius, not only could we deal a blow to the morale of the Interstellar Federation, but we would also gain a super genius, which was undeniably a huge win. The president of Yaotian Federation asked, "Then how should we go about recruiting Wang Hao?" Zhao Kun stroked his beard, smiling smugly, "Wang Hao once wrote a few poems for my granddaughter that have become classics through the ages. It's clear that the kid has eyes for Yiling, so we might as well set up a beauty trap." Everyone present nodded continually. Using a beauty to recruit a super genius was a bargain for them. How could they disagree? However, they were somewhat displeased that all the benefits of recruiting him would go to the Zhao family. The president coughed and said, "I think that, to be safe, everyone should also send a beauty to approach Wang Hao. No matter what, we must recruit him." As soon as he finished, everyone agreed. Zhao Yiling is beautiful, but her temper is too fierce. If she can't recruit him, wouldn't that be a waste of time? That's why the president is right, we must have a contingency. I don't believe there isn't a type that Wang Hao likes. I have a cousin who's the epitome of a lady, she'll definitely leave Wang Hao head over heels. Bullshit, your cousin is a lady? She's a club queen. What my cousin is doesn't matter, as long as she can handle men. My daughter's 18 this year, the same age as Wang Hao, perfectly suitable. Your daughter? Don't joke, she's too shy to even speak loudly to strangers, how is she going to seduce Wang Hao? That's called triggering a man's protective instinct. Trigger my ass. You're likely to provoke Wang Hao's animal instincts, and he'll run through her without taking responsibility. Even if he does, it's no problem as long as a child comes out of it. Holy shit, you can really spit out such heartless words. Is she really your daughter? Don't you want a grandson like that? Yes. Well, there you go. Gaga. Zhao Kun curled his lip, not taking these self-satisfied fools seriously. Compared to his granddaughter, the beauties these fools had to offer were nothing but trash, not even in the same league. Bright morning star. Wang Hao walked through the dim forest. With the miraculous powers of the Lu Ren god, Wang Hao had reaped a rich harvest along the way, easily finding items like level 3 alloy giant swords, grenades, automatic guns, bulletproof vests, recovery potions, and bandages. Roar! Suddenly, a loud and deep roar surged through the forest. Boom! Boom! Immediately after, thunderous footsteps sounded as giant figures rushed towards Wang Hao like a flood. Rhinoceroses. These were a group of rhinoceroses far larger than elephants. Wang Hao's brows furrowed. The strength of these demon rhinoceroses all reached above level 8 of the martial arts sect, and there were over 100 of them. Especially their charging posture, coupled with the sharp horns atop their heads. He had no doubt that if he were hit by one of these demon rhinoceroses, the sharp horn would definitely penetrate his chest. What puzzled Wang Hao was that when the herd of rhinoceroses charged towards him, they suddenly veered around him and then began circling him while the ground vibrated violently under their trampling. Particularly those blood-red eyes that were staring intently at him. These rhinoceroses have been controlled by someone. Wang Hao's eyes opened wide as he thought of the devil control master Li Xian had mentioned. Apart from being controlled by devil control masters, he really couldn't think of another reason for these rhinoceroses to circle him instead of attacking. Mo! Mo! The group of demon rhinoceroses suddenly bellowed and charged straight at Wang Hao with a momentum akin to an overwhelming force of thousands of troops and horses. Clang! Wang Hao gripped his giant sword, releasing a piercing sound of the blade's song, his entire being like a cheetah ready to pounce. He forcefully kicked off the ground and charged at the oncoming herd of rhinoceroses with a fierce posture. As Wang Hao raised his long sword, a flash of sword light, carrying the force to split mountains and sunder peaks, thrust out fiercely towards the neck of a rhinoceros. In an instant, the blood vessels on the rhinoceros's neck were severed, blood gushed out like a fountain, spraying everywhere. At the same time, the fresh blood turned into strands of red light and surged into Wang Hao's body, providing him with replenished energy. Without wasting time, Wang Hao withdrew the sword and dashed towards the remaining rhinoceroses like a gust of wind sweeping up fallen leaves. Lifting the sword, striking with the sword. Simple and clean strokes of sword light cut through the rhinoceroses unchecked, the blade cold, sending a spray of scalding blood rain. At this moment, a young figure appeared on a distant tree like a ghost, crouching there, looking at the rhinoceroses battling with Wang Hao from afar. The man was named Guo Yuxuan, a person of the Yao Tian Federation, also the Devil Control Master. This Wang Hao is really formidable, even though he's only level 4 of the martial arts sect. The way he slaughters level 8 and 9 demon beasts is like slaughtering chickens. Guo Yuxuan narrowed his eyes, realizing that merely relying on the martial arts sect demon beasts would not be enough to defeat Wang Hao. He must find a martial king demon beast. With this in mind, Guo Yuxuan wasted no more time and quickly left the scene to avoid detection by Wang Hao. Soon, the forest fell silent. Wang Hao, holding the blood-dripping sword, surveyed his surroundings but found no trace of anyone's presence. "This guy sure ran fast," Wang Hao said with a cold smile. "But do you really think there'll be no consequences just because you ran away?" Whoosh! Just then, a sharp sound of something tearing through the air abruptly rang out. Wang Hao turned his head and caught a glimpse of a white steed galloping past, and on the forehead of the white horse was a sharp, lone horn. "This is a unicorn!" Wang Hao shouted in excitement and without any hesitation quickly gave chase. As far as he was concerned, the unicorn was a rare demon beast, its horn capable of absorbing the thunder falling from the sky and storing it inside, gradually forming a new type of thunder element, bright thunder. This was a kind of thunder element that annihilated the world's evil substances, especially lethal to the dark elves. Now that he had encountered it, how could he let the opportunity slip by? As Wang Hao went after the unicorn, roars continued in the forest, and the points ranking list was also a hotbed of fierce competition. Especially Li Yuniang's points, which were dominating the first place position with an absolute advantage. Yet Wang Hao, who was favored by everyone, had run off to catch a unicorn, which was beyond everyone's understanding. Even though unicorns were good, they were not as valuable as the divine dragon blood baptism. But this also caused all the contestants to put forth 120% of their effort, planning to raise their points quickly while Wang Hao was distracted, then to head home. Thus, even if Wang Hao had great ability, without the points to collect, he would have to bid farewell to the first place. Chapter 350. Bright morning star, in front of a small pond. Wang Hao meticulously laid out carrots on the ground. He had been tracking the unicorn for a day, but not only did the unicorn possess the strength of a martial king, it was also extremely vigilant and its speed was shockingly fast. Even if he wanted to capture it, he couldn't. In the end, he could only use carrots to lure the unicorn. He refused to believe that even if Xiang could be tempted, a martial king-level unicorn would be able to ignore these system-produced carrots. With everything prepared, Wang Hao hid in the nearby bushes to wait in secret. Before long, the unicorn approached the pond with a cheerful gait and bent down to drink water. After a few sips, the unicorn noticed the carrots on the shore, and driven by curiosity, it approached. It was immediately enticed by the unique scent and saliva dripped from the corners of its mouth, but it dared not go forward to eat. "You!" Suddenly, the unicorn cried out, its horn flashing with streaks of lightning as it watched the bushes where Wang Hao was hiding, with a wary eye. "Wait, I mean no harm." Wang Hao, holding 2 carrots, walked out and said, "I know you understand me. If you like these carrots, then come home with me, and I guarantee you can eat them every day." The unicorn stared at Wang Hao. Inside its head, there was a fierce battle of thoughts. It could feel that eating this kind of carrot would be extremely beneficial for its growth. But the cost was to leave the beautiful great forest and go with a human. At this moment, the senior officials from the 2 major federations watching the contest could not help but burst into laughter. "Haha, this kid is really interesting, actually trying to bribe a unicorn with carrots. Now these kids don't even know what a unicorn likes to eat, how sad." I heard that Wang Hao has a clever rabbit, probably thinks all demon beasts like to eat carrots. Nowadays these kids know so little about life. The other day, my boy mixed up rice with leeks. What, for real? Yes, life is easy now, so of course their knowledge is lacking. It looks like we must strengthen education in this area. Wait, what does this unicorn mean? It's actually eating the carrots? Are you kidding me? Look at the expression on this unicorn, it's actually letting Wang Hao touch it. Am I still dreaming? Aren't unicorns very proud and don't let anyone touch them? Just as the high-level officials of the two federations were confused, they saw Wang Hao mount the unicorn, and sitting on its back, they dashed towards the forest at high speed. Now the officials were dumbfounded, as if a slap had struck their faces out of nowhere. However, within moments, these wily old officials recovered, chose to collectively forget the awkward incident, and began to discuss. Doesn't it seem like the carrots are brought in by Wang Hao? Is that against the rules? Against the rules, my ass, is that a weapon? It's not a weapon, but a unicorn is a weapon, isn't it? If that's the case, then Guo Yuxuan, the devil control master, should be outright disqualified. But Guo Yuxuan didn't use carrots, an external force. In truth, a few carrots should be viewed simply as food. I have a feeling these carrots are not simple, why else would the unicorn react this way? I've heard that Wang Hao is a level 4 potion king. Maybe there is some potion ingredient in the carrots. Have you ever tried feeding a unicorn carrots? Right. Maybe unicorns like to eat carrots, we just didn't know before. Watching the ceaseless quarrel between the two parties, presidents of both federations felt a headache coming on. The competition hadn't even started, and Wang Hao had already succeeded in inciting a battle among the younger generations of the two federations. Now, a few carrots were causing the higher-ups of both federations to argue with flushed faces and heated ears. Indeed, as long as an issue was related to Wang Hao, it never boded well. In the end, after discussing it, the two presidents decided to send a message warning Wang Hao. He was no longer allowed to use carrots, or else his qualification to compete would be revoked. When Wang Hao saw the warning message, he curled his lips dismissively and raised a big middle finger to the sky. Seeing this, the high-level officials of both federations turned livid with anger. This brat actually dared to disrespect them like this, he truly didn't take them seriously at all, did he? Dare to warn me, if I don't show you a heart-stopping drama, I would feel like I'm letting down the education you've given me, Wang Hao said with a sinister smile, feeding a carrot to a unicorn and riding it into the forest. In the forest, Li Xian was rapidly leaping between trees. Suddenly, a drooling leopard appeared on a tree in front of her. This is a bit troublesome. Li Xian frowned, pulling out a crossbow and aiming it at the leopard. Swoosh! The next second, a sharp whooshing sound pierced the air as the arrow flew straight towards the leopard. Roar! The leopard roared angrily, swiftly dodging between trees and easily avoiding Li Xian's arrow. Damn it! Li Xian had a headache. It seemed that the crossbow was indeed not as good as a revolver for her. Just then, a shadow descended from above. Dare to bully this Mrs. Rightful Queen, that's asking for death. A look of pleasant surprise flashed across Li Xian's face, without a doubt, it was Xia Weiwei, the violent little loli coming to the rescue. Bang! With a loud noise, Xia Weiwei appeared with a pair of huge hammers in her hands, sending the leopard flying with a single strike. Indeed, strength is king. Li Xian watched Xia Weiwei enviously. Without her revolver, her fighting power had at least decreased by 50%. But even without her great sword, Xia Weiwei could still exert 80% of her strength with her tremendous brute force. Here, this is for you. After dealing with the leopard, Xia Weiwei tossed her revolver to Li Xian. Li Xian's eyes brightened as she quickly secured the revolver. Let's hurry up and meet up with Jian Qin and Meng Meng. Xia Weiwei nodded her little head and slung the two huge hammers over her back. Roar! However, right at that moment, loud roars sounded from the depths of the forest and birds and beasts flew chaotically in the sky. Rumble rumble! At the same time, the ground trembled violently as if thousands of troops were charging forth. We haven't encountered a beast tide, have we? Li Xian swallowed hard and quickly leaped to the treetop to check. As the two women looked out, they saw hordes of demon beasts charging in the distance and smoke billowing, with swathes of trees falling down. What astonished them the most was, leading the pack of demon beasts was Wang Hao singing at the top of his lungs while sitting on a unicorn. My love is like the endless frontier, tender grasses so fine, beneath the green mountains where flowers bloom, what rhythm rocks best, what songs bring most cheer. To sing, we must sing with utter joy. Oh my god! Li Xian massaged her temples, can't this jerk be quiet for a moment? Xia Weiwei exclaimed in shock, what on earth has Wang Hao done that's so outrageous to have tens of thousands of demon beasts chasing after him? And is he here to compete, or to vacation? With such a leisurely vibe, where's the sense of tension that a competition should have? Let's not worry about that for now, let's just run. Otherwise, we'll definitely be trampled into mush by these demon beasts. Li Xian pulled Xia Weiwei and they both took off running without a second's delay. At the same time, many other competitors also took to their heels, not daring to linger another second. Because among the demon beasts chasing after Wang Hao, there were at least tens of thousands, and many of them were martial king level. Just the aura alone was terrifying enough to chill one's heart. Chapter 351. Bright Morning Star. A myriad of beasts stampeded, shaking the ground. The unicorn, leveraging its ultra-fast speed, left the demon beasts trailing behind. As for Wang Hao, he sat leisurely on the unicorn, singing a song and occasionally flipping the demon beasts behind him the middle finger in disdain, further fueling their rage as they relentlessly pursued him. The sight terrified the competing participants, who turned and ran, not daring to stay a second longer. What's with these demon beasts? Who knows, it must be the legendary beast tide. Look, why is Wang Hao sitting on the unicorn? Right. Aren't unicorns known to be proud creatures that don't interact with humans? What's going on with letting Wang Hao ride it now? It's really enviable, he actually managed to tame a unicorn. Indeed, that's a Martia King unicorn, its speed is insanely fast. Facing over 10,000 demon beasts, he still easily leads the pack. If he starts racing, he could reach the speed of sound. Wang Hao's lips curled into a sly smile as he rode the unicorn to the side of a young man. Brother, hand over your points. The young man gave Wang Hao a disdainful glance. Wang Hao, you must be dreaming. Why would I just give you my points like that? Why do some people always challenge me? Wang Hao sighed, then kicked the young man in the face. Ah! The young man screamed in agony and was sent flying. At that moment, the stampeding demon beasts arrived, their intimidating presence causing sheer terror in the young man. With no time to think, he quickly tapped his teleportation bracelet to teleport home. The surrounding participants twitched at this injustice, thinking how wicked Wang Hao was. If that guy hadn't run quickly, he might have been trampled into a pulp. Wang Hao looked at the fleeing people and smiled, everyone, I don't need to say much more, do I? The faces of those around him turned completely dark, this jerk was relentlessly exploiting the crisis. However, when the people saw Wang Hao lift his foot again, they obediently handed over their points. After all, as long as they didn't use the teleportation bracelet, it didn't count as elimination, and they still had a chance to collect points from others. But if they used the teleportation bracelet to return, it meant automatic elimination, rendering any acquired points useless. Considering how cooperative you all were, go ahead and use your teleportation bracelets to go home. Wang Hao waved his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, the faces of the running contestants all darkened. Wang Hao, don't push us too far. We've already handed over our points, it's too malicious for you to do this. Wang Hao, we are all comrades against the dark elves in the future, you don't have to be so ruthless. Wang Hao pursed his lips, haven't you heard the saying, not afraid of a god-like opponent, but rather a pig-like teammate? Expecting me to be comrades with you pigs, are you dreaming? You, the faces of everyone present turned livid with anger. But when they saw Wang Hao pull out a grenade, they could only reluctantly choose to activate their teleportation bracelet and go home. Just then, a panicked cry for help came, Brother Wang Hao, save me. Wang Hao turned to look, only to see Mai Meng Meng, this little girl, running towards him with a panicked face, though her speed was much slower compared to an average martial artist. But that made sense, this girl was a poison master, used to dealing with potions, so her slow speed was normal. Wang Hao's eyes lit up, and he muttered, could it be that heaven saw my loneliness and specially sent me a girl to cheer me up? However, when Wang Hao thought about the 30,000 satellites overhead, his mood instantly soured. He had no intention of becoming an actor or sharing his women for free. Although he couldn't do anything too intimate, having a beauty in his arms was somewhat comforting. Thinking this, Wang Hao loudly declared with righteousness, Meng Meng, don't worry, brother Wang Hao is coming. As he spoke, Wang Hao rode his unicorn swiftly towards Mai Meng Meng. Watching Wang Hao approach step by step, a blush inexplicably crept over Mai Meng Meng's pretty face. When she encountered danger, was Wang Hao on his holy unicorn coming to save her, the real-life version of a prince saving the princess from fairy tales. As Wang Hao arrived beside Mai Meng Meng on his unicorn, he reached out, grabbed her slender waist, and lifted her onto the back of the unicorn. Meng Meng, you need to sit tight, you must not fall off, Wang Hao said as he hugged Mai Meng Meng from behind tightly, one hand holding her little hand, the other resting on her lower abdomen, which felt amazingly smooth despite the fabric between them. Mai Meng Meng's cheeks flushed red, she could clearly feel Wang Hao's hands beginning to wander and something pressing against her from behind. As a pharmacist, how could she be unaware of what that thing behind her was? Considering this, Mai Meng Meng nonchalantly shifted forward slightly. But Wang Hao pulled Mai Meng Meng back towards him, and with a stern face, admonished, Meng Meng, don't move around, what if you fall off? Brother Wang Hao, you've turned bad, Mai Meng Meng blushed, her heart thumping wildly. Wang Hao asserted solemnly, nonsense, what about me has turned bad? It's clearly you who have become beautiful, throwing me off my pace. Eek! With her tiny hand covering her hot, red face, Mai Meng Meng thought, how could this rogue say such cheeky things? Yet, there was a strange, secret pleasure in her heart. Watching Mai Meng Meng's shy demeanor, Wang Hao felt as if cats were clawing at his heart, wishing he could immediately take up arms and tame this little devil. Yet, the 30,000 satellites above meant he could only suppress these little thoughts. Well, let's just cultivate our relationship for now, Wang Hao sighed reluctantly, holding Mai Meng Meng tightly in his arms. Meanwhile, with great willpower, he diverted his gaze and flipped off the demon beasts chasing them, causing them to roll up like snowballs, growing more numerous. And so he rampaged everywhere with the demon beasts, leaving destruction in his wake. Additionally, Wang Hao repeated his old tricks, those contestants who didn't hand over their points were promptly given a kick back home. For those who did give up their points, he kindly took out his grenade and educated them that it was too dangerous outside, better to go home to their mothers. With Wang Hao causing such a stir, the whole contest scene instantly turned into a chaotic mess, with complaints following ceaselessly. Ding dong, congratulations host for being recognized as a peerless great villain, accumulating 200,000 sin points. Wang Hao's eyes shone brightly, he yelled loudly, to the past and present, count the men of valor, but look at today. You bunch of nobodies, don't think playing a greedy blue moon makes you amazing. In front of my life's cheats, you are still nobodies. Mai Meng Meng turned to look at Wang Hao's side profile, feeling entirely intoxicated. How many women in the world could resist a man who dared to despise all the heroes under the heavens? But what on earth was this greedy blue moon? Chapter 352. Borderline. The higher-ups of both federations had completely lost their minds. How much chaos did Wang Hao need to cause before he would settle down? Everyone else was competing earnestly, but there he went provoking demon beasts and then leading them on a wild chase, threatening other competitors into handing over their points. Such a scene made it impossible for them to determine which students had talent and potential. What was the point of such a competition? The final round, which should have been a proper contest, was thoroughly ruined by Wang Hao. It had turned into his one-man show. However, the thing that baffled all the high-ranking officials was how on earth Wang Hao got those demon beasts to relentlessly chase after him. They had watched the video footage of Wang Hao over and over again, and all they saw was him flipping the bird, nothing else. Could it be that these demon beasts also knew what the middle finger meant? The high-level meeting of the Interstellar Federation had convened. 7 elders were seated at the top. These were the 7 remaining old monsters of the Interstellar Federation. They included Jian Taifeng, Xia Weiwei's grandfather Xia Dongsheng, Li Xian's master Elder Chen, Skyfire Company chairman Chu Dong, and the president of the Potion Guild, Shui Yao. Below them sat the high-level figures from the various forces of the Interstellar Federation, all showing utmost respect, with none of their usual authority. Things of the past, number of heroes old. The present observes, Xia Dongsheng read the poem meticulously, stroking his beard. Guan Xingxiang snorted coldly, this poem completely reveals that Wang Tianyi is an ambitious person. If this continues, the Interstellar Federation will surely be thrown into chaos because of him. Su Mu smiled coldly, the mighty military commander is actually afraid of a 17 or 18-year-old kid, wouldn't that be laughable to the world? Bing Jiao covered her mouth, laughing, in my opinion, Wang Tianyi is just a lively boy, he's not such a big threat. Chu Lei nodded. Wang Tianyi's literary talent is known to the world. To accuse him of having ambition just because he wrote a poem is somewhat rash, don't you think, military commander? Having ambition is a good thing. Jian Taifeng said with a laugh, if everyone lacked ambition, how would the world progress? This world is for the strong, those who are capable should be in charge. As soon as these words were spoken, all the high-level figures from the major forces were shocked. What did Jian Taifeng mean? Was he supporting Wang Tianyi to lead the Interstellar Federation? What about the noble families? What shocked the high-ranking officials the most was that the other 6 old monsters had no reaction whatsoever. After finishing reading the poem, Xia Dongsheng couldn't help but express his admiration. This young fellow has great talent and an excellent literary flair. Initially, I heard that he had a flirtatious relationship with our family's girl, and I was rather displeased. Now, however, I approve of him. Upon hearing this, everyone in the room was stunned again. Was he considering marrying Xia Weiwei to Wang Tianyi? Elder Chen snorted coldly, Old Xia, you seem to have forgotten that Wang Tianyi is engaged to Li Xian, haven't you? Engaged? Su Mu and the 4 principals were dumbfounded. Why hadn't they heard anything about this? Xia Dongsheng sneered, don't talk to me about their engagement. Even if they were married, if the Xia family has taken a liking to a son-in-law, he would have to obediently get a divorce and then come marry our girl. Elder Chen's face darkened, Old Xia, aren't you being too domineering? Xia Dongsheng snorted contemptuously, being domineering is a tradition of the Xia family, and we have the capital to act that way. Don't think that just because we've played a few games of chess together recently, you can talk nonsense in front of me. You, Elder Chen was so furious that he was jumping up and down. Shui Yao coughed, there's no use in targeting Wang Hao anymore. I've received news that his mother has awakened. Awakened? The pupils of the 6 old monsters present suddenly shrank, and a chill surged from the solace of their feet to the crown of their heads. Awakened. The others present looked bewildered, clearly having no idea what this awakening was all about. Jian Taifeng asked cautiously, could it be that Wang Hao's mother is from 18 years ago? Shui Yao nodded, she is indeed the one from 18 years ago. She has now successfully awakened, and I estimate that it won't be long before she returns. Chu Dong was dumbfounded, when did she get together with Wang Tianyi? Shui Yao shook her head, I don't know either. The only reason I know that Wang Hao is her son is because she sent me a message 6 months ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know that she left a son behind in the Interstellar Federation. Gulp. The 6 old monsters swallowed hard, all feeling that big events were looming. Su Mu frowned, recalling some past events. He knew Wang Hao's mother, a very beautiful and capable woman, but what he couldn't have anticipated was her terrifying origins, which even these 7 feared so much. Maybe I misjudged her back then, Su Mu sighed. After the birth of Wang Hao, he had not seen that woman again, having assumed that she had abandoned father and son. But thinking about it now, it seemed that Wang Tianyi hadn't looked like someone who'd been abandoned at all. There might be many unknown incidents that had occurred. Guan Xingxiang furrowed his brow, although he couldn't understand what these old folks were talking about. He did understand one thing, Wang Hao's mother had a terrifying background. So terrifying that it instilled fear in the remaining 7 immortals of the Interstellar Federation. If that's the case, then for the sake of the nobility's interests and position, I must hasten to eliminate Wang Hao. Guan Xingxiang's eyes flashed a cold light. Based on his understanding of Wang Hao, this young man was the type to hold a grudge. If you displeased him at all, he would make sure you were displeased for life. So the outcome between them was predetermined, either Wang Hao would die, or they would. With this in mind, it would be better to take advantage of the absence of Wang Hao's formidable mother to secretly dispose of Wang Hao, than act ignorant. It might just work, and it was certainly better than sitting around waiting for death. Meanwhile, the high-level individuals from various major powers present still had no idea who Wang Hao's mother was. But one thing was clear to them all, Wang Hao was not to be messed with. At the same time, they carefully reflected in their minds and it seemed they held no grudges against Wang Hao. However, Chu Lei was ecstatic. This was certainly an unexpected windfall. He had originally just been interested in Wang Hao's talents, but who knew the boy held such secrets? It looks like I must increase my investment. Chu Lei glanced at Guan Xingxiang. Whatever decision Guan Xingxiang intended to make, it would not bode well for their Skyfire company. If the military department were to fully woo Wang Hao, then the profits that would go to their Skyfire company in the future would surely shrink. Yet if the military department were to act against Wang Hao, it would impact the interests of Skyfire Company, and he would not allow such a thing to happen. Chapter 353 Bright Morning Star Light Dragon Spaceship. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, after watching Wang Hao in the video, brandishing his sword, riding his horse, embracing a beauty and leading the crowd with an unparalleled demeanor, wished they could worship him on the spot. My God, the boss is truly radiant. Qian Wanyang said with pure admiration. Chen Yao nodded repeatedly. Among the 5 million young elites of the two federations, all were played around by the boss and eliminated without even getting a chance to show off their skills. It's truly pitiful. Lingling couldn't help but sigh. Following a boss who loved to stir up trouble, she didn't know if it was good or bad, but who asked for her to be entirely owned by Wang Hao. She had no choice in the matter. As Wang Hao swept away with the demon beast, only 500,000 out of the 5 million contestants were left not eliminated. At the same time, Wang Hao's points also reached a terrifying 1 million, firmly in first place, a whole 950,000 points ahead of Li Yuniang, who was in second. He was unshakable. Mai Mengmeng leaned into Wang Hao's arms, her face blushing as she said, "Brother Wang Hao, since we've got the points, let's go back." Not going back. Wang Hao raised his eyebrow. If we go back, wouldn't I be unable to hold you? Ah, Mai Mengmeng's face turned so red it looked like it might start to bleed. She hadn't expected Wang Hao to be so unabashed and straightforward. Wang Hao bit Mai Mengmeng's little ear and whispered, "How about we go back now and you come to see me tonight?" Mai Mengmeng's ear was bitten, and she felt like she had been electrified, her strength draining away in an instant, leaving her limp in Wang Hao's arms. Mai Mengmeng was too embarrassed to speak. Just then, the voice of Man Wen, the referee, suddenly rang out, "The competition has ended, all contestants, return." The next second, a gentle light flashed over Wang Hao and Mai Mengmeng before they shot up into the sky. Seeing this, the unicorn exploded with speed, transforming into a streak of white light and quickly following after them, leaving the thousands upon thousands of chasing demon beasts far behind in an instant. When Wang Hao and Mai Mengmeng returned, they immediately felt a multitude of angry glares. "Brother Wang Hao, these people," Mai Mengmeng shrank into Wang Hao's embrace, her expression one of fear. Seeing this, the surrounding male creatures all revealed a look of envy, jealousy, and hatred. They had prepared so hard, thinking they would be able to make their moves in this competition. But shortly after the competition began, they were chased by the beast tide Wang Hao had drawn in, and then had to accept being looted by Wang Hao, the shameless bastard, during their desperation. Yet, while they couldn't vent their fury, this bastard Wang Hao was holding a beauty in his arms, exuding a carefree and content demeanor. Could this not be adding fuel to the fire, causing their rage to become even stronger? Wang Hao had an innocent look on his face. "Why are you all staring at me?" "You ask why they're staring?" The crowd grew more furious. When he was kicking them around and extorting them, he was so arrogant. Now why had he put on this innocent face? Mai Mengmeng plucked up her courage, stepped in front of Wang Hao, and said timidly, "Don't hit brother Wang Hao." As soon as her words fell, those furious glares turned into looks of resentment. Why did this shameless man, who had no friends, still have a woman stand up for him? It was as if heaven had turned a blind eye. Wang Hao sighed, "Actually, there's no use looking for me. You should be searching for the real culprit." "The real culprit? That would be you." The people around them gritted their teeth as they stared down Wang Hao, their weapons now gleaming as they were drawn. Wang Hao gave these people a look of disgust. "Are you all idiots? Even if I were that amazing, I couldn't possibly attract so many demon beasts. Don't you know that there's a devil control master in this competition?" As soon as his words fell, the crowd was first stunned, then instantly erupted into a frenzy. Wang Hao is right, it must be that devil control master. The devil control master has not appeared for 1,000 years, right? I'm from the Yao Tian Federation, our Guo Yuxuan is a devil control master. Holy shit, there really is a devil control master. If there really is a devil control master, then the sudden appearance of the beast tide makes sense. So, it was that Guo Yuxuan who controlled the demon beasts to trouble Wang Hao, and because Wang Hao ran away, that's what led to everything that happened afterward. Now that you mention it, I feel like Wang Hao seems to be a victim too. Victim my ass, he went from victim to beneficiary. Damn it, everyone is a victim, so why should Wang Hao benefit and even have a beauty in his arms? Being envious is useless, can you beat him? I definitely can't beat him, and this guy has always been lawless, who knows what he'll pull out to deal with us. I don't care anymore, I must vent today. Since we can't beat Wang Hao, let's go find Guo Yuxuan. That's right, if it wasn't for this guy being so arrogant, we wouldn't have been eliminated. Let's go, let's take down that kid Guo Yuxuan. Wang Hao's lips curled up slightly, thinking they really believed that there wouldn't be consequences for attacking him last time. Anyone daring to lay hands on him had better be ready to be toyed to death. At this moment, the referee Man Wen walked over. Right now, she really couldn't describe her own feelings. The competition was supposed to last 3 days, but after Wang Hao caused a commotion, it ended in less than 2. Moreover, to prevent unnecessary casualties, the authorities had decided to end the competition directly. Wang Hao, the authorities have decided that you've won first place in this competition, you have the privilege of using the Divine Dragon Blood Baptism, Man Wen said seriously. However, this competition did not truly test the younger generation's combat capabilities, so it will be held again, and you, as the first place winner, will not need to participate. Mai Mengmeng stared blankly at Wang Hao. Although Wang Hao won first place, upon further thought, one would realize that it was the higher-ups who had no other way to deal with him, so they simply gave him the prize and wanted him to peacefully go home and stop causing trouble. The upcoming game, they dared not include him. It was as if they were thinking, if we can't offend him, can't we at least avoid him? In her heart, Man Wen deeply respected Wang Hao, as his troublemaking managed to drive the high-level executives of 2 federations to insanity, making such an absurd decision. He truly was unprecedented. Wang Hao shook his head and proclaimed righteously, as Wang Hao, I live upright and honest, I definitely cannot slip through the back door. I must participate in the next competition to show the world with my strength that I am a man of integrity, and let the world go crazy for me. Man Wen's lips twitched. Does this guy have no shame at all? Talking about being upright and honest, a man of integrity, wouldn't people laugh their heads off at this? But the part about making the world crazy for him was true. She had never seen anyone take such insane actions. To think those were demon beasts by the millions, one wrong move and you could be torn to shreds. Man Wen took a deep breath. Wang Hao, the high-level executives have spoken, even if you argue till you are blue in the face, you won't be allowed to participate. Wang Hao sighed helplessly. He had hoped to earn some more sin points, but this was the result utterly disappointing. Well, he might as well go use the Divine Dragon Blood Baptism and then go find those noble scions. While their parents were away, he could bully, educate them. Chapter 354. Bright Morning Star. Xiang walked out holding Little White, with the candied haw in her hand, blissfully munching away. When Little White saw Wang Hao, he leapt out of Xiang's arms and jumped onto Wang Hao's shoulder, looking at him with a pitiful face. Wang Hao shook his head. No need to guess what that expression meant. Xiang had eaten up all of Little White's carrots again. Wang Hao, baby bunny is hungry. Little White clung to Wang Hao's cheek, tears swirling in his eyes. Xiang blinked innocently and offered the candied haw to Little White. Little White, didn't you say you weren't going to eat just now? How come you're hungry again? Wang Hao rolled his eyes. He was too tired to comment on this little glutton. You see, ever since Little White had followed him, he only ever ate carrots exchanged from the system and looked down on anything else. How could he compete with the likes of Xiang, who could eat anything and everything? Nay! The unicorn cried out loudly and hurried to Wang Hao's side, nudging him with its head as if to blame him for leaving it behind without any reason. A unicorn! Xiang's eyes lit up, and she happily hugged the unicorn's neck. And, surprisingly, the unicorn did not attack Xiang but instead stuck out its tongue and licked her little cheek. Hee, that tickles. Xiang giggled ceaselessly. What's going on here? Mai Mengmeng asked in surprise, watching Xiang. When she had sat on the unicorn, she could distinctly sense the unicorn's unhappy mood. But now, Xiang was meeting the unicorn for the first time and yet they were so affectionate. Could there be some mistake? Man Wen also looked astonished watching Xiang. She knew that unicorns were proud by nature and never willingly grew close to humans. Yet now, it had not only been tamed by Wang Hao but was being so intimate with a little girl. What did this mean? Wang Hao stroked Little White's belly only to find it wasn't round at all anymore, and with a pang of sympathy, he handed Little White a few carrots. Little White didn't hesitate, grabbing the carrots and gobbling them up, clearly very hungry. Roar! Just then, a dragon's roar suddenly echoed from the sky. Wang Hao and the others looked up to see an eastern dragon with a body length of 500 meters swiftly making its way through the sky, its head wagging and tail swaying. A dragon! Little White, terrified, stood hair on end, stuffed the carrots into his mouth, and then scampered into the safety of Xiangxiang's embrace. Wang Hao was surprised, the little guy didn't hide in his arms but ran to Xiangxiang instead. At this moment, all the contestants present enviably watched the divine dragon in the sky. Is that the divine dragon of the Interstellar Federation? That's the one. I heard the divine dragon has reached the martial saint cultivation level, it's incredibly powerful. Indeed, the strength of the divine dragon is greater than a human martial saint, rumor has it that it can defeat 2 human martial saints. This divine dragon was tamed by a certain powerful person in the past. After that person reached the end of his lifespan, the divine dragon has been guarding his family ever since. But I can't understand how Wang Hao merely got the baptism of divine dragon blood. There's nothing we can do. Who asked for Wang Hao to have such high points? He is the absolute first place in this competition. We should not lose heart, the competition is about to restart, isn't it? What's the use of attending? There's only so much essence blood from the divine dragon, and now Wang Hao uses it once, and then the adult group will use it. How much energy could be left when it's our turn? Brother, you don't need to worry about that kind of thing because you're definitely not going to be the first. That's true, besides Wang Hao, there are 2 other freaks this time, beings that humans simply can't contend with. One from the Interstellar Federation, Li Yuniang, and one from the Yaotian Federation, Guo Yuxuan. This Li Yuniang, when captured last time, did not even reveal his true strength despite being ravaged by the Great Han. He's truly no ordinary person. And it's precisely because of the last incident that Li Yuniang specifically targets competitors from the Yaotian Federation, and he's utterly ruthless about it. Are you Wang Hao? The divine dragon's deep voice resounded, its eyes flashing red as it stared straight at Wang Hao. Man Wen stepped forward, bowed respectfully, and said, Divine Dragon Lord, this is the first place winner of the youth competition. Please bestow upon him the divine dragon blood ritual. Roar! The divine dragon let out an exceedingly high-pitched dragon roar, a drop of golden essence blood containing terrifying energy slowly forming in the dragon's mouth. At the same time, a tremendously majestic pressure spread out. What a dreadful pressuring force, the pressure emanating from just this drop of essence blood alone is comparable to the full-force eruption of a martial king. Wang Hao frowned, feeling that the path he had to walk was still very long. Little guy, using the divine dragon blood ritual will be a bit painful, I hope you can endure it. The divine dragon's mouth curved into a hint of a smile as it controlled the essence blood to rush towards Wang Hao. Pain! Wang Hao cried out, are you kidding me? If it hurts, then I don't want it. No sooner had he spoken than everyone present felt like throttling the bastard Wang Hao. They were all green with envy, and yet this guy actually refused because it hurt, the disparity was too great for them to accept. Don't want it. The divine dragon laughed out loud, that won't do. Someone specifically requested that you be given the divine dragon blood ritual, and the more thorough, the better. The next second, the golden sphere of essence blood enveloped Wang Hao instantly, an intensely scorching aura spreading throughout his entire body in a flash. Boom! As the divine dragon blood merged into Wang Hao's body, a horrifically explosive energy suddenly burst forth. Wang Hao's body began to convulse violently, he could distinctly feel the blood within him roiling madly, as if a raging inferno was burning through his flesh. At the same time, an indescribable agony surged into his neural pathways, his entire body felt as though it were being flayed by 1,000 cuts. Wang Hao swore he had never experienced such agony, nor had he ever imagined he would endure such pain. Ah! Wang Hao screamed miserably, quickly circulating the martial radiance heavenly demon skill to absorb the divine dragon blood and forge his golden body. Observing Wang Hao's miserable state, all the surrounding competitors felt a penetrating chill, as refreshing as chugging Sprite on a hot June day, their hearts soaring with a twisted delight. Seeing Wang Hao so miserable, all my anger has dissipated. That's right, although it's known that after this Wang Hao's strength will surge, his pain now brings me joy. One of the culprits behind this, Wang Hao, has already been punished, we should now look for the other ringleader. Exactly, if not for Guo Yuxuan, we wouldn't have been eliminated. Damn it, if you have issues with Wang Hao, take it up with Wang Hao, but why drag us into it? We can't let him off. Meanwhile, Guo Yuxuan was extremely frustrated inside, as if a herd of alpacas were running rampant through his mind over and over. He was clearly cultivating, yet in the end, all the blame was being placed on him, and he couldn't even control that many demon beasts, for goodness sake. Didn't these people have any common sense at all? But facing these unreasonable people, he could only choose to temporarily evade and wait for the competition to start again, then settle the scores one by one to make them realize the consequences of framing someone. Chapter 355. Bright Morning Star. Wang Hao closed his eyes, his face completely contorted as energy from the divine dragon blood ceaselessly infused into his limbs and bones. Boom! Boom! Before long, muffled sounds erupted from within Wang Hao's body, which trembled uncontrollably as indescribable pain spread from his limbs and bones. It felt as if every bone in his body was being smashed and his flesh torn apart. However, Wang Hao could distinctly feel that while the energy was tearing his bones apart, as it merged into the cracks, it also healed the bones anew. Though the sensation was quite miraculous, Wang Hao didn't like it one bit, for it was simply too painful. In midair, the divine dragon couldn't help shaking its head and sighed, "This kid's talent is terrifying indeed, but his willpower needs strengthening. Just this level of pain has him screaming as if he's going to die." Man Wen gave a bitter smile. Could this pain really be described as just a bit? She had heard that, apart from Marshal Wang Tianyi back in the day, everyone else who received the divine dragon blood baptism had fainted from the pain right at the start. The fact that Wang Hao hadn't fainted and was only crying out in agony was already quite impressive. Ah! The divine dragon suddenly looked at Wang Hao with surprise, noting that the rate at which Wang Hao absorbed the essence blood had increased, particularly his physical body becoming noticeably stronger. What astonished the divine dragon even more was that Wang Hao was absorbing only the essence of the essence blood. As for the rest of the energy, even if it was incredibly powerful, he wasn't taking it in. Interesting. The divine dragon opened its mouth and condensed another drop of essence blood, which fell upon Wang Hao. Ah! Immediately, Wang Hao released a miserable scream, inwardly wishing he could thrash this divine dragon to death. Was the divine dragon blind, not seeing his pain? What was this, another drop? Was it not over yet? Seeing this scene, the gazes of everyone present were filled with envy. Others would be extremely fortunate to receive just a drop of the divine dragon blood baptism. But Wang Hao was getting 2 drops in one session. If he finished his cultivation, his strength would surely skyrocket by several folds. Li Yuniang, standing amongst the crowd, had an extremely grave expression on his face. His combat strength was already not a match for Wang Hao's, and now with Wang Hao receiving 2 drops of divine dragon blood, the gap between them would grow even wider. "Wang Hao, I will definitely defeat you," Li Yuniang made a solemn vow in his heart, his eyes filled with determination. The divine dragon was momentarily taken aback and its gaze fell onto Li Yuniang. Being a divine beast, it could naturally sense some things that ordinary people couldn't, such as the elusive concept of fate, to which it was faintly perceptive. And at that very moment, it distinctly felt that the fate surrounding Li Yuniang seemed to have drastically increased. "This young man is impressive, even a bit more so than that kid named Wang Tianyi back then." The divine dragon narrowed its eyes, deep in thought. Just then, Xia Weiwei approached the divine dragon, holding out a large glass bottle and politely said, "Hello, Grandpa Long." The divine dragon's eyelids twitched, feeling an inexplicable fear towards this violent little loli. Not long ago, Xia Dongsheng brought Xia Weiwei to it for a baptism with divine dragon blood, and afterward, this violent little loli actually demanded to take some with her. In the end, it was forcibly extracted of 10 drops of essence blood by Xia Dongsheng, which had greatly weakened its cultivation and left it in a feeble state. Now, this violent little loli was here again with a glass bottle. It was clear enough that she was after a takeout once more. At this sight, exclamations of astonishment rose continuously from the crowd. "Is this the Xia family's little princess? Indeed, this girl's name is Xia Weiwei, the sole heir of the Xia family. No wonder she was so domineering, directly demanding the divine dragon's essence blood. That's unheard of. The sole heir? Doesn't that mean whoever marries her would get everything the Xia family owns? If that's the case, I'd start pursuing Xia Weiwei right away. Bro, you need to stop daydreaming. I heard that Xia Weiwei is already destined for 3 lifetimes with Wang Hao." "What? Again Wang Hao? Doesn't Wang Hao already have a lot of beauties around him? Why is he still getting involved with the Xia family? I heard that Xia Weiwei actively pursued Wang Hao, and he's been refusing. No way. With Wang Hao being so shameless, what does Xia Weiwei see in him? The Xia family is domineering, Wang Hao is shameless, isn't this like in-laws entering the same family?" Xia Weiwei's face turned red with anger. Why should her Xia family's domineering attitude be any of their business? And what do they mean like in-laws entering the same family? Can being domineering and shameless even be related? The divine dragon extended a finger and tapped Xia Weiwei's little head. Girl, your grandpa Long has been very weak these days, I can only give you 2 drops of divine dragon blood at most. Xia Weiwei shook her head and held out 3 fingers, at least 3 drops, I have 3 friends who need it. The divine dragon hummed softly, I'll give you 2 drops at most. If you want all 3 of your friends to use it, just win first place in this competition. Xia Weiwei thought about it and nodded in agreement. She had used divine dragon blood before, so she didn't need it, and these 2 drops could be for Shuequnqin and Li Xian. When the time came, they would give all their points to Mai Mengmeng, allowing her to take first place and use the divine dragon blood without any problems. The divine dragon let out a sigh of relief, glad that it was only 2 drops this time. If it were like last time, asking for 10 drops, it would surely meet its end at the hands of this violent little loli. After the divine dragon gave Xia Weiwei 2 drops of divine dragon blood, it immediately turned tail and ran, not daring to stay a moment longer. Watching Xia Weiwei holding the essence blood of the divine dragon, everyone's eyes were filled with envy. But when Xia Weiwei glared at them, they all consciously averted their gaze, not daring to look any longer for fear of provoking the Xia family. Chen Yao tugged at Qian Wanyang and pointed with his lips, look, isn't that Li Yunyang over there? Qian Wanyang glanced at Li Yunyang and silently opened his smart bracelet to send a message to the Bewitcher Kula, asking him to hurry over to tempt Li Yunyang. Chen Yao whispered, why do you think the boss never lets Li Yunyang off the hook? Qian Wanyang pondered for a bit, I feel like it's because Li Yunyang harbors ill intentions toward Miss Li Xian. Is the boss going after someone right under his nose? Chen Yao asked in confusion. Qian Wanyang shrugged, I don't know about going after her, but if someone else was going after your girl, would you let him off the hook? Chen Yao nodded in sudden understanding, then asked, then why hasn't the boss made a move on Miss Li Xian? Is he planning to take it slow? Qian Wanyang lowered his voice, the boss once said something I've always regarded as classic, to pursue a woman, you must do it with your heart, not with ruthless speed. With heart. Chen Yao looked confused. With Wang Hao's level of shamelessness, who would believe with heart? Are we sure he's not joking? Qian Wanyang raised an eyebrow, the boss said that only by loving with the heart can one receive genuine feelings in return, and only then can you unlock more positions. Chen Yao and Qian Wanyang exchanged a smile, silently sharing a knowing, profound grin. Chapter 356. Bright Morning Star. The youth competition continued. In the dark forest, a sudden breeze arose, casting dancing shadows from the trees. Li Xian, Xia Weiwei, Shuequnqin and Mai Mengmeng stood on a large tree, observing their surroundings, looking for a suitable target. Weiwei, is there still time? Li Xian asked with some worry. Originally, they had planned to give all the points to Mai Mengmeng so she could use the divine dragon blood baptism as the first place winner. However, due to the emergence of Li Yunyang and Guo Yuxuan, these 2 abnormal competitors, even when the 4 of them teamed up, they still couldn't catch up in points. Now, as time was running out, they were really getting anxious. Xia Weiwei frowned, if we really can't make it, then we'll have to ask Grandpa Long. Shuequnqin silently mourned for the divine dragon for 3 minutes in her heart, thinking that being targeted by this little miss was like the divine dragon having misfortune for 8 generations. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sound of breaking wind arose, and from afar, they could see Li Yunyang rapidly jumping through the trees. Xia Weiwei's eyes lit up, and she spoke in a lowered voice, later, Li Xian will ambush Li Yunyang. If it's not successful, I'll rush forward to start a head-on battle, while Qian Qin looks for an opportunity on the side. As for Meng Meng, you're out of use. Upon hearing this, Mai Mengmeng, full of hope, lowered her small head. Even though she was a poison master and could poison all the competitors given time, Li Yunyang who had practiced the heaven and earth ascending dragon skill was immune to poison, which meant she was indeed of no harm to him. Li Xian couldn't bear it, Weiwei, Li Yunyang is already miserable enough, let's not make a move against him. Xia Weiwei glanced at Li Xian, his misery is Wang Hao's doing. What does that have to do with us? Besides, Li Yunyang has the most points. If we don't take down this fat pig, our elimination doesn't matter, but what about Meng Meng? Mai Mengmeng vigorously nodded her small head, signaling that Xia Weiwei had a point. Li Xian shook her head and aimed a revolver at the rapidly moving Li Yunyang. SHH. Shuekyun Qin pressed down on Li Xian's gun. Listen. The three women furrowed their brows and quickly grew alert. Roar. Suddenly, a loud roar erupted without warning, setting off sharp whines in the dense forest, making the ground tremble slightly, and massive shadows rushed towards them. These shadows rampaged through the forest, causing rows of trees to collapse. The sudden change made Li Xian and the others' faces turn pale, as they could clearly sense an overwhelmingly strong aura surging from all around. Mai Meng exclaimed, "What's happening?" Li Xian's eyelids twitched, and she saw hundreds of white apes emerging, howling skyward, their massive bodies filled with savagery, appearing extremely ferocious. Wang Hao didn't join the competition, did he? Shuekyun Qin rubbed her brow feeling a headache, thinking, this competition couldn't possibly be starting over, could it? Xia Weiwei excitedly grabbed Mai Mingmeng's small hand, this must be that devil control master, Guo Yuxuan. He's going after Li Yunyang. Pay attention, we'll reap the benefits when they both suffer. Roar. A group of white apes howled, their massive bodies rushing forward like a giant rock hurtling towards Li Yunyang. The devil control master is indeed formidable, but I, Li Yunyang, am not made of clay. Li Yunyang stared coldly at the white ape, his eyes flickering with a touch of madness. Roar. A violent roar echoed, and the white ape at the forefront swung its enormous arms, bombarding Li Yunyang with terrifying force. Li Yunyang's expression was serious as he moved lightly on his feet, dodging the white ape's attacks without a moment's distraction. Yet, when everyone saw the sensation of "I wish to ride the wind" back emanating from Li Yunyang, a flicker of shock crossed their eyes that was unmistakably the innate step skill. Li Xian exhaled, I feel like it won't be so easy for Wang Hao to defeat Li Yunyang anymore. Shuekyun Qin nodded, the reason Li Yunyang lost to Wang Hao so quickly before was that Wang Hao's innate step skill was unpredictable. But now that Li Yunyang has also mastered the innate step skill, it's unlikely Wang Hao will defeat him quickly. Mai Mengmeng puffed her cheeks, brother Wang Hao is the strongest. Xia Weiwei tapped Mai Mengmeng's little head, huffing, you are supposed to be my chief concubine, how can you keep thinking about that stinky man, Wang Hao? Li Xian and Shuekyun Qin shook their heads helplessly. This girl was beyond saving. A breeze swept by, gently rustling the leaves. Li Yunyang turned into multiple afterimages, swiftly weaving through the group of white apes, his giant sword stirring up sprays of blood and accompanied by cries of agony. From a distance, on a large tree, Guo Yuxuan was stunned. The scene before him was all too familiar. It was exactly what Wang Hao had demonstrated 2 days ago. A smile crept up on Guo Yuxuan's lips, even if you guys have unmatched talent, I'm not a vegetarian. Before long, the battle ended. Li Yunyang raised his eyebrows, feeling an intense itching all over his body as if ants were crawling on him. In fact, Li Yunyang could clearly feel these ants crawling inside his body. What's going on? Li Yunyang ripped open his clothes to find nothing on his body. Haha, Li Yunyang, no need to look any further. Guo Yuxuan walked out with a smile, these demon beasts, white apes, have a kind of flea invisible to the naked eye. After you killed the white apes, they seek out a new host, and you were the nearest living being, so these fleas have made a home on you. Fleas. Li Yunyang's brow furrowed, and he erupted with true qi, attempting to kill these fleas with the energy from his true qi. Guo Yuxuan shook his head and chuckled, Li Yunyang, you're wasting your effort. These fleas reside within your meridians, and they will never come out unless your blood runs cold. You're despicable. Li Yunyang was furious, he detested those who resorted to dirty tricks, especially those like this that were disgustingly treacherous. I am not despicable at all, Guo Yuxuan said earnestly, I just know how to use all the resources around me. Li Yunyang spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, his vitality immediately diminished, without even the strength to hold his giant sword. Guo Yuxuan looked apologetic, sorry, I forgot to tell you that these fleas cannot be driven away by true qi. When they make contact with true qi, they become anxious and do crazy things, like damage your internal meridians, leaving you without any fighting power. You, Li Yunyang was enraged. Guo Yuxuan smiled elegantly, ignoring Li Yunyang's ranting and raving, and proceeded to confiscate the points from Li Yunyang's body. Additionally, Guo Yuxuan forcefully stuffed a red medicinal herb into Li Yunyang's mouth. Chapter 357. What did you feed me? Li Yunyang's face turned red as he felt as if his lower abdomen was about to explode. Guo Yuxuan smiled slightly and said, "This is a gift prepared for you by those Yao Tian Federation competitors you defeated. Its name is Joy Grass." Joy Grass. Li Yuniang's face changed drastically. He had heard of this medicinal herb, it was the main ingredient in aphrodisiacs. Although its effects weren't as strong as those of aphrodisiacs, they were similar. If he did not expel it in time, he would inevitably overheat to death. Guo Yuxuan shook his head and sighed, "Li Yuniang, everyone says to leave room for mercy, so that you can face each other in the future. But you were so ruthless in your attacks, making everyone unhappy, this is retribution." "You?" Li Yuniang's body heated up, a blaze burning in his chest. Whiz whiz. Just as Guo Yuxuan wore a look of triumph, the sound of something cutting through the air arose. Without time to think, Guo Yuxuan spun on his feet as a projectile whizzed past his cheek, blood spurting out in an instant. But before Guo Yuxuan could react, Xia Weiwei had already charged in front of him, a huge sword assaulting him with the force of a landslide. "Fuck!" Guo Yuxuan cursed loudly, drawing his long sword to meet the attack. Clang clang! The two swords collided, sparks flying everywhere, and an ear-piercing noise erupted in the woods. Guo Yuxuan's face changed dramatically, and his arm trembled violently, as if he were not being attacked by a person but a mountain. Bam! In an instant, Guo Yuxuan crumbled, sent flying by the blow. But just as Guo Yuxuan thought to take advantage of his flight to make a quick getaway, a sense of cold dread surged in his heart again. "Wait!" Guo Yuxuan called out repeatedly, "I surrender." As soon as the words left his mouth, the chilling sensation vanished, as if it had never been there. Upon landing, Guo Yuxuan breathed a sigh of relief, he felt as though he had narrowly escaped from the ghost gate. That terrifying assault left him no time to react. "Be good and hand over the points," Xia Weiwei demanded, standing over him with her huge sword. Guo Yuxuan forced a wry smile and obediently surrendered his points. Truth be told, he didn't want to, but without demon beasts by his side to protect him, his combat power was significantly reduced by at least 60%. Moreover, the person attacking him was no ordinary individual, so other than complying, he really had no other choice. "Seeing how obedient you are, we'll let you stay in the game. Be on your way," Xia Weiwei said, waving her hand dismissively and turning away with her massive sword. Guo Yuxuan was utterly baffled. Should he be thankful to Xia Weiwei, or resent her? The competition was nearly over, even if he could continue, where would he go to gather points? However, when Guo Yuxuan turned his head to see the red-eyed Li Yuniang, his mood instantly improved, at least he had avenged his comrades from the Yao Tian Federation. And with his status, receiving the Divine Dragon Blood's blessing upon his return wouldn't be a problem at all. After all, there was more than one Divine Dragon, and the Yao Tian Federation had them as well. At this moment, Li Yuniang could no longer hold on and activated his teleportation bracelet. When Li Yuniang returned, a shy young girl approached him. Li Yuniang quickly intervened, "My lady, please stay back. I've been affected by Joy Grass, so it's best you stay away from me in case I fail to control myself." The young girl blushed modestly and said softly, "My name is Kukla, and I'm a medical staff member. Helping you is my duty, so rest assured I can use my hands." Li Yuniang looked at Kukla's flushed little face, his breathing became very heavy, and his heart told him he should refuse, but his body was telling him he couldn't hold on anymore. From a distance, Chen Yao laughingly asked, "Qian Waniang, when did you change Kula's name?" Qian Waniang shivered, "It's the name that they wanted to change to themselves, it's not my business. Besides," he said, he really admires Li Yuniang. Goodness gracious! Chen Yao also shivered, looks like Li Yuniang is going to be bent out of shape this time. I don't know about being bent out of shape, but we should wish them happiness. Qian Waniang watched as Kukla forcefully helped Li Yuniang walk away, praying in his heart that Li Yuniang would get through this blow, otherwise they would lose out on a lot of fun in the future. As he finished speaking, Chen Yao suddenly shivered. The image was too much for him, he really didn't dare to think any further. Borderline. In the pitch-black universe, flashes of light appeared from time to time. 3 massive spaceships were slowly advancing, and the Yao Tian Federation's top-level Courage battleship was not even a third of their size. As for the artillery configuration, that was even less on the same level. These were the Dark Elves armored carriers, a level above the Courage battleship. However, facing such a formidable opponent, the allied forces of the two federations were not afraid at all, still firing back at the armored carriers with their rifles. On board one of the Courage battleships, Guan Yingzhe watched the armored carriers with a calm face and softly ordered, "Pass my command, focus all firepower on attacking the rear of the armored carriers. That should be their energy shield's weak point." "Yes, Marshal." The soldier quickly went to convey the order. Soon, the cannons on all battleships of both federations were aimed at the tails of the armored carriers. Boom, boom, boom. When the missiles fell like raindrops, a tremendous roaring sound echoed throughout the place. And the indestructible energy shield of the armored carriers began to burst open from the rear, creating a huge breach. Seeing this, the soldiers' eyes lit up, and without needing any orders, they immediately charged towards the armored carriers. Huff, huff, Guan Yingzhe let out a deep breath. After many days of fighting and being pushed back hundreds of light years by the enemy, they had finally found a way to counter the armored carriers. "Pass my command. All forces attack, and reclaim the lost territory," Guan Yingzhe quickly ordered, determined to push the front line back before the Dark Elves could repair their weakness. "Yes." The soldier hurried to convey the order. While Guan Yingzhe was giving the command for all forces to attack, the high-ranking individuals of the two federations were not at all happy. Instead, they were all furious. Because they had just received news that the alien race in the alien star system was starting to mobilize troops, intending to take advantage when they were fully committed to resisting the Dark Elves' invasion. A bunch of aliens whose strongest warriors are only martial kings dare to rebel. Let the youngsters lead the troops to wipe out these fellows. It's a good opportunity to enhance the youngsters' combat skills. Good idea. After this war, allocate some troops to the youngsters and let them demonstrate to the alien race that the human race is not to be violated. This time we must eradicate several of their species to make them understand the severity. Set a target for the youngsters. We need to eliminate at least 90% of the aliens who come in. Agreed. Agreed. Chapter 358. Bright Morning Star. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao watched Wang Hao anxiously as he was immersed in the divine dragon blood. The competition was nearly over, yet their boss seemed to have no intention of emerging, which was extremely worrying. At that moment, Wang Hao's body suddenly trembled, and the golden divine dragon blood, like a dam-bursting river, crazily fused into his flesh. After a while, Wang Hao's eyes suddenly opened, and within his pitch-black pupils, a tangible gleam flashed. After receiving the baptism of divine dragon blood, not only had his golden body been forged, but his cultivation had also successfully broken through to level 5 of the martial arts sect. Wang Hao exhaled, feeling an immense power within him that brought an indescribable sense of comfort, although he still needed to adapt to control this power. "Boss, are you all right?" Qian Wanyang stepped forward to support Wang Hao, asking with concern. Wang Hao waved his hand. "I'm fine, I just need to adjust for a bit, and I'll be good." Qian Wanyang nodded, then hurriedly reported, "Boss, I just received news that the nobles at the Royal College are busy recruiting soldiers." "Recruiting soldiers?" Wang Hao was taken aback. "What are these guys up to? They aren't planning to come after me, are they?" Chen Yao shook his head and whispered, "Boss, the armies of both federations are currently stalled by the Dark Elves, but the alien star systems are also starting to act up, so they have no choice but to recruit new soldiers to quickly suppress these aliens." "No way." Wang Hao scratched his chin, muttering, "The aliens would actually choose this time to come out and take advantage." Qian Wanyang nodded carefully and added, "Boss, I also have another piece of information. Guan Xingxiang has appointed Guan Tian as the 6th Marshal, planning for you to join him in defeating the aliens." Wang Hao furrowed his brows and snorted coldly, "Damn that old turtle, he's playing a deadly game." Chen Yao questioned, "Boss, even if that old turtle had the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard, he wouldn't dare to make a move against you at this time, right?" Qian Wanyang kept nodding. Wang Hao had transformed completely. Not only did he have the backing of 3 major powers from the Interstellar Federation and 4 key universities, but also the support of the Zhao family from the Yao Tian Federation, and even the favor of the peculiar old man Jian Taifeng. Who dare take action against him, facing such massive forces? Even if the Guan family commands the military department, they wouldn't dare to harm Wang Hao. Moreover, with the Dark Elves and aliens watching closely, turning against them now would be digging their own graves. Then tell me, given my relationship with Guan Xingxiang, would he hand me such a good opportunity? Wang Hao scoffed coldly. Qian Wanyang furrowed his brows, arguing, "Boss makes sense. The highest combat power of the aliens is at level 9 of Martial King, which doesn't pose too much of a threat. It's more than enough for Guan Tian alone, and he can even monopolize the military honors. There's no reason to share such a good deal with the boss. Chen Yao suddenly realized and nodded, that's right, everyone knows that the 5th Marshal is just a figurehead. 90% of the soldiers in the Legion are Guan Xingxiang's men. Should anything unexpected happen, with the troops we have, it would be difficult to even make it back. Qian Wanyang asked, so, boss, what should we do now? Since they want to play, let's just play along. Wang Hao's lips curled into a cold smile, Qian Wanyang, contact those dandy progenies like Guan Shi immediately, get them to assemble on my planet. Yes. Qian Wanyang nodded and began sending the assembly order. Chen Yao suggested, boss, since all major powers are recruiting soldiers, should we find allies to unite with? Wang Hao smirked, relying on these unreliable folks? I'd rather deal with old demon Chi Mo. Chi Mo. Chen Yao swallowed, sensing instinctively that Wang Hao was about to stir things up. Qian Wanyang silently mourned for these noble progenies for 3 minutes in his heart. Now that their parents had gone to the front lines leaving no one to support them, weren't they just putty in Wang Hao's hands? Moreover, considering Wang Hao was even planning to utilize the DY terrorist organization, it would be a strange thing indeed if these dandy progenies ended up having an easy time. The Light Dragon spaceship swiftly ascended and headed to the 3rd-level planet designated by the Potion Guild. Sophie Star. Scream Bar. The pounding music was deafening. Guan Shi and a group of noble youths were indulging in fine wines and swinging with beautiful women. Suddenly, the smart band on Guan Shi's wrist beeped. Curiously, he checked it and almost wet his pants from shock. Turn off the music right now, Guan Shi shouted, and the pounding music immediately ceased. What's wrong, Mr. Guan? Someone curiously asked. Guan Shi sighed, Wang Hao has sent a summoning order, and I don't know whether I should go. Haha, I thought it was something serious, a noble youth laughed. Mr. Guan, you got scared by Wang Hao. Have you forgotten that 90% of the soldiers in the Wang Hao's legion are our people? As long as we go together, what is there to fear? Guan Shi thought for a moment and felt that it made a lot of sense. The last time Wang Hao came to Sophie Star, he had chopped off one of his arms because he didn't have a large army to protect him. But this time, they were going with a large army. Just thinking about it, they knew there was no need to fear Wang Hao, they could even teach him a lesson to avenge their prior grudge. After realizing this, Guan Shi laughed aloud, stop playing around, everyone. Let's go now. I can't wait to see Wang Hao scared. As he finished speaking, all the noble youths burst into laughter. Haha, imagine when Wang Hao sees that 90% of his own soldiers won't listen to him. It will be a splendid sight. Who can he blame? He sold all his military titles. This is what they call digging your own grave. Still, everyone needs to be careful. Wang Hao is always crazy, don't provoke him. Right, it's enough to embarrass him, just be sure not to piss him off, or else we might have to deal with a Dongfeng missile. What's there to fear? We're going in a battleship this time. Are we supposed to be afraid of Wang Hao? Exactly. He has firepower, but we do too. Who's afraid of whom? As long as we don't strike first, the moral high ground is ours, and Wang Hao wouldn't dare make a move. After discussing for a while, all the noble youths gathered their soldiers and boarded their warships to meet with Wang Hao, intending to show him who really commands the legion. Meanwhile, in both dominant federations, the young members of various influential families were also desperately recruiting soldiers, preparing to defend against the invasion of the alien race. After all, for these young people, this campaign involved relatively weaker opponents. Not only was it not very risky, but it also provided an opportunity to earn military achievements. If they missed out on this, they wouldn't forgive themselves. Thus, a vigorous recruitment drive kicked off, and Martial Kings, as the main force in this great battle, naturally attracted attention from all the powerful families. Chapter 359. The Light Dragon spaceship slowly landed on a 3rd-level planet. Vice Admirals Gu Yang and Qin Feng had been waiting for a long time. As Wang Hao and his party exited the Light Dragon, the 2 Vice Admirals hurriedly saluted, Marshal, sir. Wang Hao nodded, no need for formalities. Where are Guan Shi and his gang? Gu Yang replied with a wry smile, they haven't arrived yet. I guess they want to give the Marshal a hard time. Haha, my dear nephew, do you want your 3 uncles to stand up for you? Xiangda laughed cheekily. As long as you let your uncles join the female corps, we promise to put those troublemakers in their place. Xiang Er raised an eyebrow, looking like he was offering a great deal. Xiang San spoke earnestly, "Dear nephew, just recruit your uncles into the female corps, and in a decade or so, your army won't have to worry about the fighting strength of its soldiers." Cough cough. The moment the words were spoken, everyone present choked. Could these three bears be any more shameless? This is a military camp, not a breeding ground for them. To say they wouldn't have to worry about the fighting strength of their soldiers in a decade or so, were they planning to let Wang Hao feed their sons out of the military provisions? Ignoring the three bears, Wang Hao asked, "What is our army's current combat strength?" Seeing this, the three bears immediately grew displeased, huffed, and sat down to one side, their attitude declaring, "We are very angry, and without the ladies, we definitely won't forgive you." Qin Feng quickly reported, "We have 10,000 standard ace army soldiers, 5 courage battleships, a female corps, and with the help of the headmaster's name, we've also recruited 10,000 third-level mecha warriors, and I've also managed to sway a master from the Tianbei University rankings to our side." "A ranking master?" Wang Hao asked curiously, "Who is it?" Qin Feng nodded, "It's Senior Wang Yuheng." Hearing about the alien race invasion, he decided to go to the battlefield to enhance his real combat experience. After a moment's thought, if Wang Hao remembered correctly, this was the ranking master who appeared when Qin Feng was beaten by Guan Tian last time. But as the ranking master did not take action at the time, he didn't know the extent of this person's fighting ability. However, making it into the Tianbei University rankings presumably meant a high level of merit. Buzz buzz. Just then, a series of huge roaring sounds came from the sky. Everyone looked up and saw a dozen massive battleships slowly descending, and squads of soldiers marched out in neat formation. Although these soldiers were middle-aged and not as powerful as the younger ones, their spirit and demeanor were unmatched by the younger soldiers. Especially that uniform stride, the stern faces, and the aura of killing intent that came with them, all indicating this was an elite army, invincible wherever directed. Gu Yang frowned, "Are these the retired soldiers from the 4 major ace armies? This presence is terrifying." Qin Feng nodded gravely, "Although these veterans' combat strength has somewhat declined, their discipline and battlefield experience are far superior to our 10,000 ace army soldiers. If it really came to a fight, the outcome would be hard to predict." "Haha, Marshal Sir, it's been a while." Guan Shi arrived with a bunch of noble young men, but his expression was laced with undisguised scorn. Wang Hao said indifferently, "According to wartime military orders, when a marshal issues a command, if it is not carried out, the light punishment is demotion, and the severe punishment is death without mercy. Tell me, how long have you been delayed?" "How long?" The noble youths were first startled, then burst into loud laughter. "Wang Hao, did you just wake up? Really think you're a marshal? Hey! You're just a nominal marshal, the real marshal of this legion is Mr. Guan. We all listen to Mr. Guan, what are you?" The three bears at the side also began discussing in low voices. Xiang De huffed and puffed, "Are we really just going to stand by and watch these guys bully the boss's son?" Xiang Er shook his head, "That definitely won't do, even though Wang Hao hasn't brought us any women, he's still the boss's son. How can we, as his uncles, stand by and watch him be humiliated?" Xiang San pressed his hand down and whispered, "Don't be hasty, let's wait until Wang Hao is too humiliated to lift his head before we intervene. Only then will he realize he can't do without us, and he'll surely serve us with fine wine and beautiful women from then on." Xiang De and Xiang Er nodded again and again, feeling that Xiang San made a lot of sense. They had to make Wang Hao understand how stupid it would be to lose them. Wang Hao spoke indifferently, "I advise you not to provoke me, or I'll slap you against the wall so hard you won't be able to peel yourselves off." Hearing this, Guan Shi's group of young scions were startled. After all, a man's reputation precedes him. The entire Interstellar Federation knew how arrogant Wang Hao was. It was one thing to embarrass him a little, but to provoke him was simply asking for death. Cough cough, Guan Shi coughed, "Marshal Wang Hao, we all understand our relationship, there's no need to spell it out. I came here today to tell you that we're going back to fight the alien race, but not to follow your orders." Wang Hao's lips curled up, "I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed, because starting today, I'll be taking back your military authority." No sooner had he spoken than the group started to mock him. "Ha, Wang Hao must not have woken up, right? These ranks were bought with our money, do you really think you can just take them back? I always heard about how arrogant Wang Hao was, but today, instead of arrogance, I see idiocy. Wang Hao, let us tell you, you can't take back these ranks without the Grand Commander's permission. I think Wang Hao set this up from the start, he's waiting for us to gather all the troops and equipment, and then turns on us like throwing away the millstone after grinding. That makes sense, it would not only make him a chunk of money but also bring in equipment and soldiers without him having to lift a finger. Pity, the military department isn't something he can dictate, the Grand Commander wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. Nice calculation, but utterly unrealistic. Wang Hao didn't get angry, he just smiled faintly. You're right, I do intend to throw away the millstone after grinding. Today, I will definitely take back military authority. Even if Guan Xingxiang, that old turtle, turns up, he'll just have to take his bad luck. Guan Shi shook his head, chuckling in disbelief. Wang Hao, do you fail to see the situation clearly? We have the upper hand right now, what makes you think we'll hand over military authority to you? Do you think your nickname is Invincible Little Whirlwind or something? As soon as he finished, the group burst into laughter. Wah, Invincible Little Whirlwind, I say it's Invincible Scaredy Cat Marshal. How can you talk about the Marshal like that? The nickname needs to be nice sounding, easy to say. So what should it be? I think it should be Little Lamb Baby. Wow, haha, that's a really catchy nickname. Chapter 360. Gu Yang approached Wang Hao and whispered, Marshal, should we call in the Ace Army? Wang Hao waved his hand dismissively, if I can't even handle these dandies, how the hell am I supposed to get by in the Interstellar Federation? Whoosh whoosh. Guan Shi curled his lips and with a wave of his hand, 990,000 soldiers behind him stepped forward in unison, instantly emitting a cold murderous aura. Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao, Gu Yang, and Qin Feng quickly moved forward, shielding Wang Hao behind them, warily watching the advancing army. Marshal, why so agitated? I wouldn't dare touch you, Guan Shi laughed boisterously, a look of unspeakable smugness on his face. Wang Hao pushed away Qian Wanyang and the others and confronted Guan Shi's group of dandies. His eyes suddenly emitted a chilling light, his aura turning sharp in an instant. The terrifying pressure he exuded made the dandies' hearts tremble in fear, almost compelling them to bow down in worship. Title: Bully with backing skill. Abusing power. Once used, it intimidates others, instills fear, and ensures absolute obedience, lasting for 3 days. The only pity is that this impressive skill can only be used on those with lower cultivation than oneself and has no effect whatsoever on those who are more powerful. Marshal, we were wrong. Seeing Wang Hao's icy gaze, Guan Shi's band of dandies were so frightened they immediately knelt down and began to beg for mercy. Wang Hao sneered, weren't you all quite arrogant just a moment ago? Why so cowardly now? Marshal, please, overlook the follies of us fools and spare us. Guan Shi's face was a mask of terror, not understanding why he suddenly felt such fear of Wang Hao. It was as if disobeying would lead to instant beheading. Witnessing this scene, everyone in the audience was stunned. What had just happened? Why had the haughty dandies suddenly become so sheepish? Wang Hao asked indifferently, so what should my nickname be? Guan Shi replied hastily, Invincible Little Whirlwind. Slap. Before he could finish, Wang Hao slapped Guan Shi across the face. Wrong, the nickname people have given me is the Great Bluffer. Qian Wanyang and the others burst into laughter. Their boss really had a personality. Everyone knew he loved to bluff, but as a marshal, he could hardly be so brazen about it. Seeing this, the veterans all frowned, unsure if they should intervene. They had orders to protect Guan Shi and his noble companions, but Wang Hao was the marshal of their legion. Beating up his own subordinates seemed like something they shouldn't meddle in. After some thought, the veterans decided to wait and see. Wang Hao then asked, do you know what my pet name is? Guan Shi, rubbing his swollen face, ventured, Little Hao. Slap. As soon as the words left his mouth, Wang Hao slapped him again on the face, his voice icy, with all my wealth, why would I play with alt accounts? I'll have you know, I've always been one to spend big on my main account. Guan Shi was on the verge of tears. Who said you couldn't spend money on alt accounts? At the same time, Guan Shi deeply regretted provoking Wang Hao. He knew full well that the guy was bad news, but his unwillingness to accept that had led him to issue a challenge. Now, he had once again fallen into a trap. A noble disciple shouted, Marshal, I know. I was in the same class as you. I heard Marshal Wang Tianyi call you Haoer. In the same class as me. Wang Hao thought for a moment, not recalling anyone by that name. However, this guy was a noble, probably attended the Royal Noble School, being classmates with some unlucky fool wasn't exactly headline news. Slap. With that thought, Wang Hao was unapologetically quick to deliver a slap. Clutching his face, the noble's offspring cried, "Why? I didn't mishear, your dad indeed calls you Haoer, doesn't he?" Wang Hao curled his lips, "My nickname is Shameless, cut the bullshit." The entire crowd burst out laughing again. Marshal Wang really wasn't one for the beaten path. Nicknamed the Great Deceiver, and answering to Shameless, were these even things a marshal should say? Wang Hao, with a cold expression, asked again, "Let me ask you again, what's my interstellar certification?" Guan Shi's face was an image of sorrow, truly fearing this demonic marshal already. Who else would slap their underlings just for self-mockery? "Well, are you going to speak?" Wang Hao raised his hand threateningly. Terrified, Guan Shi hastily replied, "The marshal is a level 4 medicine king, the interstellar certification should be the level 4 medicine king badge." Slap. As soon as he finished speaking, without exception, Wang Hao slap struck Guan Shi's face once again. Tears welling up in his eyes, Guan Shi pleaded, "Why? I didn't say anything wrong." Sigh. Qian Wanyang and the others let out a helpless sigh. Was this kid's brain missing a screw, or was it waterlogged? Didn't he realize that after his attempt to show off in front of Wang Hao, which had seriously annoyed the Lord, that this was nothing but a pretext to slap him? Wang Hao huffed, "My interstellar certification is clearly plucking a goose passing by, a gentleman, killing a donkey after grinding, an utter scoundrel. Do you think you deserve to be hit or not?" As soon as these words were spoken, the room fell completely silent, leaving everyone utterly speechless. They were truly at a loss for words. Who else but an utterly shameless person could utter such words? Qin Feng massaged his temple, muttering under his breath, "I suppose he's known as the Great Deceiver, nicknamed Shameless, his interstellar certification, severely adolescent. Upon hearing this, Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao, and Gu Yang silently gave Qin Feng a thumbs up, indicating he had guts to talk about this petty marshal behind his back. Wang Hao glanced back at Qin Feng with a sly smile. Immediately, Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao, and Gu Yang adopted the attitude of hear no evil, see no evil, quietly bowing their heads, pretending to count the ants on the ground, indicating they hadn't heard anything. Qin Feng felt an inexplicable shiver and began to worry, what if his casual remark caught the unwanted attention of this capricious marshal? Wang Hao stated flatly, "Now that you all know my nickname and interstellar certification, hurry up and hand over the military power voluntarily, otherwise, if anything unpleasant happens, don't blame me." The crowd suddenly understood Wang Hao had made such a fuss to coerce these spoiled children into surrendering their military power willingly. It made sense, as long as these brats handed it over willingly. Even if Guan Xingxiang decided to pick on Wang Hao, what could he say? It would be evident that it was Guan Shi and his crew's voluntary choice, nobody else could be blamed. But even if these spoiled children were useless, they wouldn't just be intimidated by a glare from Wang Hao and readily hand over their military power, would they?